Good morning. Welcome to the Tackle. Thank God it's Friday. Leo Uncle Gerald Dayuko, so I'm sitting in for him. If you're joining us, please tell us where you're joining us from, where you're watching us from. Mambo ni mengi leo, lakini sijui kama masaa itatosha. All of a sudden 2 hours looks like is not even enough time, but we shall try and do our best. I'm with my favorite commentators today, Governor. It's been a minute.
You know, sometimes I keep and remember how we would read this show, and we would actually joke that some Subarus are just outside waiting to pick us, and I think it's fun. I'm really honored to be sharing the platform with you. You see how we have grown from, there's a guy who said once that we were broadcasting with pinhole cameras.
Ouch.
And I keep saying that he needs to come and see what God is doing and how far he has brought us.
I know, right?
Yeah, so it's an awesome morning to be here with you and my co-host, my fellow analyst.
Hey, I thank God we are here today. Oyola, salimia wa Kenya tafadhali.
Good morning everybody from whichever place you are. I'm told there's a lot of fog or snow at hii place yetu inaitwa je kona ya Nyandarua.
Kinongi.
There's even Bitok got stuck there. That's why he was not able to make it home in time.
Hey, those
you know the problem with that link from Kinongi coming to Kimende. One, in Kimende you have a company called Kabasid. Kabasid harvests CO2 gas. So every time they are harvesting, they have what you call breathers for those gas wells. So that breather adds to that fog and it becomes so messy. You go to Kinongi, there is naturally a natural fog there. So like right now we have a lot of lanes and what have you. It's a very tricky place. One, it's very, it is very loose. Doesn't have chipping, so because it is very wet and slippery, you drive slowly, it is foggy. If you have a problem with the sight, just get into one of the town, relax. The world is going nowhere. Just relax and drive when you can see, because it is known to cause a lot of accidents, especially the spin between a place called Magena and a place called Sokomjinga.
Yes.
That spin is very dangerous. So if you're on that road and you're reasoning to ask Idre, be safe.
Be safe, tafadhali. Anko kama uko hapo, kaka tu hapo kidogo. Show itaendelea. Your show is safe. You know, Oyola, I grew up with this tooth gap na nilikuanga naeka ruler hapo katikati nikiwa and I used to hate it. So I say you have one and yours is bigger than mine. Did you love yours? Ama umekuja kuipenda huku baadaye.
So in fact the people who made me be conscious about my gap are some ladies when I was in campus.
Oh.
Yeah, they would say that they love men with gaps and dimples, and I have 2 of them, you know.
Wewe unajipigia debe bwana.
Wewe ulihangaisha. Anyway guys, if you haven't shared the broadcast, please share the broadcast. Give someone else a chance to listen to us and to contribute to the conversation. Kwa sababu leo we want to make this show really lit. We want to talk about everything that's going on in our political and civic democratic spaces in this week. Tukianza na maneno ya chief economist. Kwa sababu chief economist kama amechoka, sijui wa Kenya wengine tutafanya nini. But let's thank our sponsors, Unga Limited. So kama wewe ni mkulima wa mifugo, ukienda pale kwa site ya Unga Limited, utapata wako na various feeds for your various livestock needs. Kuna Fugo poultry, we have Fugo layers, we have Fugo pig, we have Fugo dairy, and we have Fugo fish. Na their tagline is really good, by the way. Wanasema malezi bora mapato zaidi. So make sure you buy Fugo feeds from Unga Limited, ndio mifugo yako iwe na afya njema, malezi bora mapato zaidi. Now let's get right into this, by the way, you guys. Earlier on in the week, David Ndi was at Citizen TV, and he was answering the question on whether the economy is headed in the right direction. If we are broke, I don't know. Me, by the way, I think we are broke. But unajua sometimes mtu anasemanga kuna lens of being broke. unaweza kuwa broke na uko na mita kwa account na kuna mwingine akiwa broke ako na 5 bob between ye na reality. What's I'll start with you, Governor. What's your general opinion on where we are headed to as a country economically wise?
I was trying to remember. I can't precisely remember it's when, but it should be 2020 when we did a show and I told you the reckless borrowing that was being done by the Uhuru government then would affect 2 successful governments.
Yeah.
And exactly that is what is happening, because it is very uncalled and unhealthy economically to borrow money to fund what you call recurrency expenditure, because that is what has gotten us here. We would borrow money from local banks to pay salaries. It is the most dangerous thing a government would do to its economy, because the local loans and local concessions are very costly, because the banks will more or less lend the government maybe 80% of the normal borrowing that we have, which means that those concessions will be very costly. You take short-term loans to pay salaries, and the interest that you pay with is today, as a nation, we are paying 100 billion shillings a month in interest, not the premium. The premium, you can imagine the premium. We are paying 100 billion shillings every month as principal interest on the local concessions that we have borrowed. And I will tell you, one of the things that has gotten this country where it is borrowing to fund what is called recurrency expenditure. Because recurrency expenditure, let me tell you, if I pay you salary, unless you are a responsible person, maybe 5 years down the line, I will see a house somewhere or a plot somewhere. But as a government, I will never recover that money, because this is a recurrency expenditure. You pay for house, electricity bills, you pay for utility bills, you pay salary. Every other that days that continues recurring. It does not make sense that we borrow to pay recurrency expenditure. Well, when you talk about local corrections in terms of revenue, every revenue collected by KRA goes to what you call the consolidated account. And one of the core business of the consolidated account is to pay our external loans. So we are then again paying a lot of money to external loans. If you look at the debt that we are in, spanning to about 10 trillion shillings, it means that every single coin that we are putting into our budget today, that is 3.3, in layman's language, we'll say that we are living on a borrowed budget. Is in its entirely, if you have to see it from a layman's language. Now, back to what David D is saying. This is a problem that we have with Kenyans doing comparative analysis of what was promised and what you are being told. And that is where Kenya lose their cool very quickly, because they would, I've seen people on social media, and we are in that era that you do not need the mainstream media. People will take a video of William Ruto somewhere in September of 2021 talking about what they will do, and then they will bring what David D is saying. I think what we need to do is that in a country that democracy has not grown that much, if I was part of the economic team that is leading the economic recovery in this nation, I'll do it in silence. Kenyans have not matured enough to be told the truth. You saw what happened. No, I'm telling you, this is the truth. It is the truth. Kenyans have not matured enough democratically to actually hold the truth on its, without politicizing it, without taking it. Look at what happened in the US at the Silicon Valley. People are told the truth, and the markets, the New York Stock Exchange, we had that, and it was stable despite paying some of those banks that were going down, have funded most of the tech companies there. But because their economy has grown to that level, they are able to weather that storm and move on. But here in Kenya, tell Kenyans there is no dollar in the bank. Even that person with a dollar account will panic and convert it into Kenya shillings. And that automatically affects how the economy is reacting to those news. So if I was part of the recovery team for Kenya Kwanza, I would know, yes, we have a problem with our import, our reserve, dollar reserve has issues. I will know, and I will keep quiet. I will only deal with what we call the financial prayer, the financial market prayers. How do we caution the fact that our dollar reserve is going down? So what we are saying is, people like David Lee, as much as, as an advisor of government, I do not think that your role spans into advising the entire Kenyans. Your role is to advise the government of the day. But when you come to the TV and spill the beans, you want to show your expertise in that subject. But instead of covering for your boss, you leave him exposed. Naked, that's the problem I have with David Lee. I may not have a problem with his argument, because in the Alexander Forbes magazine of the 100 top economics, David Lee features there.
He's one of them, yeah.
He's one of them. But I do not think that laying bare such truth on national TV works to the advantage of the government of the day.
But then, that conversation did not start on TV. He woke up on Saturday morning and he tweeted. It was a series of tweets. So it was the tweets that actually caused the panic. And then now I think he was given an opportunity to come explain on what he was tweeting about, because you can only tweet so much in 240 characters. Although nimeona Elon Musk amefanya ile kitu siku hizi, naona paragraphs pale Twitter, and it's very awkward. But Oyola, I'm coming to you. KRA says it has met its target. So the problem is not revenue collection. We don't have a collection problem. Wanasema shida iko pale kwa expenditure.
In fact, I was looking at some tweet when somebody has taken a jibe at David Lee. You're saying that the person who is talking about wastage was in Mombasa to receive an oil tank. And David Diaz responded by saying, I was in Mombasa for 4 hours. Okay, fine. But that means he went by air, he came back by air, right? And so the guy wanted to send him a bit of his per diem.
Okay. Where is that possible? Let appear me to me 10%. There's
a lot of wastage in government. There's a reason why government cannot do business, and in pure capital economy, they tend to move government away from conducting active businesses, like setting up factories and all those kind of things. So the role of government is limited at policy, and just to regulate, it becomes a regulator, and that's it. Government is very inefficient in its own, the way governments are made. They're too inefficient. And if you don't monitor the civil servants, everybody will be looking for an opportunity to make an extra coin. Because government is an institution with coffers not running dry. Because every day you have to make sure that you collect some revenues, it goes to the exchequer. But that said, the problem we've had is I don't have a problem with loans that we've had, which has gotten us to this point. I definitely do not have a point with the loans. Even the way it was spent, I in a way don't have a problem with it. But the kind of our loan partners, the people, the funders, the people who are giving us loans, they don't behave like the European or the Western lenders. The Chinese, they don't care.
Yeah.
You want 50 billion, they'll give you.
Here is 50 billion.
But on condition that this be 50 billion, it is our companies that will do it, which means that money has to go back to China. So you are given 50 billion here to make a road, but you find that majority of that expenditure or the expenses that goes with that amount, it goes back to China. The money does not circulate back to the economy. Then it means that by the time a citizen will be paying the loan, by the time the loan is due, it means ile pesa yenye kwa mfuko ya Muchendu itakuwa inatolewa, badala isirculate hapa, inatolewa inaenda China in form of loan repayment. And that is what we are going through right now, that there's a lot of loans that were taken. We were expecting that the effect of those loans, 10 trillion is not a small amount of money.
Yeah.
If that money was actually circulating in this economy, kama ilikuwa na circulate in this economy, people would be having money, because it's the money that came from outside and came here. By the virtue that now we don't have money because of that 10 trillion, it means that 10 trillion did not circulate here.
Yeah.
You know, it circulated somewhere else. You give us a 10 billion contract in loan ya kutengeneza barabara, maybe Thika Road, or 60, was it 61, then it was enhanced to 62 billion. This 62 billion, companies that do that road, they are Chinese. You know, they are not local contractors. No, they are Chinese companies. Inamaanisha unachukua hiyo pesa kutoka China, unakuja unalipa mchina hapa. Na yeye anachukua hiyo pesa inarudi back to China kwao. That is how there's a big problem here. It is different from the Western lenders who give you the loan, though the conditions they give you are things that some things we don't like some of those conditions.
Yeah.
You have to accept this, you have to accept human rights on these people, what. And those are not conditions that we really feel comfortable with. And that's why Kibaki, towards the second term, he really went to China. And Uhuru went to China almost full blast.
Yeah.
And so the problem we had is the way the loans were spent. They were not the best of models. At least Kibaki tried to empower a bit of local contractors, local companies. And the elephant in the room that has even denied us money circulation, that unapata kama serikali haina pesa, but majority of citizens pia wana pesa. Unapata the government has got around 600 billion of pending bills. Pending bills inamaanisha watu walifanya kazi
na hawajalipwa. If I was President Ruto, I don't know much about economics. I did it in first year and second year, then I dropped it. I went to another course. But if I was to try to advise him, if they would even pay the contractors even half that amount, the economy would be liquid again. Because there's a big problem with liquidity in the economy. Of course, KRA, wanasema they have reached their target because they are the wider of our taxers, or they have stretched us too far. They have.
You know, they have pushed us so much.
Yeah.
So them, they don't have a problem. Them, they are getting that money. But the problem is that there is a very little, the economy is not liquid, pesa haiko around, and many businesses are struggling. If you walk in town, you know, a lot of shops are closing down. In fact, even through your friends.
Have you been to industrial area anytime recently?
No.
You'd be shook. You know the way you'd go to Inda alafu unakosa hadi mahali pa kutembea.
Yeah.
Nowadays there's a lot of space. There's so much space you can run, you can do so many things, and it's because businesses have shut down.
Na hizi magari mpya zimejaa kwa barabara, these Prados. Who are people buying these vehicles, by the way?
Mimi sijui, lakini trust you me. Like a week ago, I saw a Mercedes-Benz Maybach. Do you know there are only 40 of them in the entire world? 40. And 3 of them are in Kenya. 3.
There's a saying in the mountain region that we normally say, kama wewe hauna pesa, wacha kusema Kenya
haina pesa. Sema ni wewe hauna.
Wewe ndio hauna pesa. Because if you look at, and I'll tell you one of the major problems. One, as a republic, we do not, by excellence, have what you call the middle class as a nation.
No.
Because I'll tell you, for any nation to actually accelerate economic growth, then to expand, there has to be an active middle class. Unfortunately, what we have is Kenyans who have been privileged to get a few coins, and they think that they are in the middle class. And I'll tell you what they do, and this is the major problem that we are having as a republic. One, the so-called privileged Kenyan who thinks that he is in the middle class, one, he doesn't vote. He is amongst the 8 million who never voted at the general election. These are the people who will walk into a car yard and take a hire purchase vehicle a Mercedes C200, which is a higher purchase. He is living in a rented apartment. He's paying 70,000 in a place, say, like Roaka, or a place like Zindego, or a place like Kasarani, TLM area, where everything is very expensive. Life is expensive because from what you eat to what you wear, you are buying everything. And these are the people who are comfortable to be getting 54-60% cut of their salary to pay for their loans. By the time he is done paying for the loan he took on that C200, the vehicle is already broken down.
It has no value.
That guy is sent back to square zero. That is where our country has stagnated, that we are making 5 steps forward. By the time that guy is done with the loans, he is back to zero. You know, you have, if we were to actually look at it from a perspective point where you invest, like if today you're living in an apartment that you are paying 70,000, there is a mortgaging. We now have house mortgaging that you can be paying 40,000 shillings a month until you're done. Yeah, if you go to Thika Road, Juja area, Ruiru and whatever, get into a 2-bedroom apartment, you're paying 30,000 shillings. Convert the 40,000 extra money you're being given as a house allowance into a mortgage and buy a 50 by 100 plot, build your own house. And then when you have settled, you know, that is how a country will grow. But a country cannot grow when you are living on 100,000 cost apartment in Kilimani and driving a 7-8 million mortgaged vehicle. By the time you are done, you will pay that mortgage, and then you will mortgage a new one to get the car design that is in the market then.
Currently,
so this is the problem. We as young people, we want to do shortcuts to get there. And I think one of the things that the government needs to be very serious, it is making, ease of doing business. Because one of the other ways that we will grow the country, and I agree with him, it is when we allow money to circulate here.
Yeah.
Today, Chinese companies, as he has said, are building roads. They are taking that money back to their country. They are importing duty-free metal products. They are importing duty-free road construction materials. So that means when they are duty-free, it is not helping the republic. It is helping their country, because a lot of money, if they were being paid 6 billion and we were charging them import duty, we would somehow retain 2 billion shillings in the republic. But we take an external loan from the Exim Bank of China. We give the contract to a Chinese contractor. We give that Chinese contractor a duty-free opportunity to import the material, actually import cheap labor from their own country. That means the only thing that we are left with is that road. And most of the time, if there is no money circulating where these constructions are doing, now those roads are turning out to be white elephant project. I'll give you an example. If you come and construct a road, in where I come from, Ndeya is only 30 minutes from Nairobi. It's part of Limuru constituency. There is a road that moves from a place called Thogoto at the southern bypass and goes to Matarakwa to join the road that goes to Maimahio to that place. We have a very nice road at 28.5 span kilometers. Excellent road. But we did a road. Ndeya is semi-arid, is classified as a semi-arid area. But as we were doing those roads, the government would have looked at the economic activity that they would introduce in Ndeya, so that Ndeya can actually make that project worthy of constructing. You look at our if you're doing horticultural products, fruits, they can do well in Deya because it is relatively warm. They can do very well. But when the Ministry of Road and Public Works was doing the roads, what was the Agriculture Minister, what was the Trade and Investment State Department doing? Were they looking at the economically viable project that would make the people of Deya see that road as something that brings value to them? Today, if you do a road like the one Geta road, the one the other day, the president was being hit on Twitter about, if that road is done, trust you me, it is worthy to the people of Nyandarua because one, they are the number one potato producer in the republic. Their potatoes, there is a farmer who is not bringing his product to Nairobi because of the road network. So the broker takes advantage of that farmer. But if there is a road, that farmer will bring his cabbage to Nairobi. That farmer will, probably someone who buys cabbages and potatoes and puts them in a cold room lorry to Mombasa, will not wait for a broker in Nairobi, will now be able to move to Kinangop. Yeah. So what I am saying is, are we doing projects that are bringing economic activities into that place? Why should we be giving? Because let me tell you, we give China, we go and we borrow loans from China. They make money and they take it back to the people's wealth of China, because Exim Bank is where the savings of the People's Republic of China is banked. Yeah. So what we are borrowing, it is money that is saved by the people of China. And we borrow it at 15-16%. It means there is a Chinese who saved his money and he will be getting back returns at maybe 10% or 11%. Yeah. Then we come to the local banks, we borrow. Let me tell you, 2007, 2006, I vividly remember the manager, Equity Bank, then I think it was in Kikuyu, would keep calling because there is a 30,000, a 40,000 that comes to my account, Equity account every month. And it's like, Muchendu, come, we want to give you a loan of $500,000. We see what you can do. Do you know why they were doing? They were tailor-making products that would fit the kind of money I was winning, because they had nowhere to take the money that they have. Today, banks have no business with you, Lucia, because they can lend to government at 13% and government will pay. So one of the things that this KK government must stop completely, it is to borrow from local banks and allow local banks to go back to the drawing board and try and tailor-make, because the moment government stops borrowing, government will have no alternative than to come to Lucia, who is making 30,000, and try and entice you to give you a cheap loan. And that way, we will be able to fund youth startups, but we can sing from morning to evening about funding young people and their projects. But as long as government continues, because one of the things I must applaud the president and his team is that they have resisted to borrow money to pay salary, because are you aware that we are paying NCBA a lot of money that we borrowed to be paying salaries? So one of the things I must applaud him is you will not die, civil servants will not die because they did not get salary. Their salary was rate at 3 weeks. Let me tell you, I have worked for county governments. County government goes 8 months without paying us, and we have not died. Yeah, so I would rather, and that is why I say
MPs wanataka kuandamana.
Hapana, waandamane, but hawatakuwa wakiandamana because of the cost of mwananchi. I think for me is that I am glad the members of parliament are feeling the pinch.
Me too.
So that they can understand what a normal Kenya goes through when his salary is rate for 2-3 months. So what I am saying is government must stop to borrow from local banks, allow KCB to sit and say, we have now taken deposit of 100 billion from our customers, and our customers, there is a customer who has put 20 billion in a fixed deposit account. That customer requires to get his profit at the end of the year. How are we going to make that profit? Let's call Lucia And instead of giving her a loan at 11%, we will tailor make a loan at 7% and also give her a grace period of 6 months to start paying. But as long as government continues to borrow from KCB and from wherever, you can keep going to that bank, to that corporate representative to get a loan. You will not get any. So these are some of the things that we must do. And I think for me, I would seriously ask government to lean on its advisors like David D, because David D is not working to actually help KK. He's working to expose it because, yeah, true.
So you want to say he has been paid by Baba's
I'm not saying he has been paid by Baba. What David D must do, he must draw the line between his eager and urge to be popular and his role as an advisor. Because, true, let me tell you.
But when our deputy president starts to talk, he usually says, I am a truthful man. Wouldn't we say David D is also being a truthful man?
Lucia, you run an organization. Lucia, you run an organization.
Yes.
Because I follow you, what I have seen in that organization, what I normally see is the end result of so many boardroom meetings maybe you have done, so many humiliations and frustrations to get funding in there, but you do not come and feed us with all those things. You work in silence and you allow people to see the end products. I think that is because, let me tell you, if you become a crybaby for a long time, people will get using to it. And because, let me tell you, it is a fact. And this is what I have a contention with. It is a fact that the government of the day has gotten a government that is dilapidated. That is true. Even when we were joining that, we were asking people to vote for this government, we already had a pretty idea where our economy is. So you cannot spend a lot of time talking about what you found. Yes, Kenyans are now aware of what you found. What Kenyans are looking for is, what are you doing about it?
But just to hold you on that thought, we talk about being given loans and how we are repaying these loans. Is there room for negotiations when we are taking these loans? Or do we just, tunaendanga tu huko, we accept everything? I'm in the civil society space, and one of the things that I am having a challenge with right now is you approach a donor organization and you have a concept for a program that you want to run, because you've done your study and you figured out this is the problem and I think this is how we can deal with the problem. So you do a concept for that. You go meet the donors and they tell you, that's a really nice concept, but civic education is not our priority area right now. Our priority areas are women in politics, LGBTQI plus rights, and women and girls' rights, and climate change. So now you have to go and then they tell you, we can't fund this concept, but if you do something within our priority areas, then we can give you some money. So now you stop wanting to solve the problem that iko kwa ground, and you now go restructure your concept to their wishes so that you can get that funding. Do we negotiate enough for ourselves when we are taking these loans? Ama inakuanga tu, mnataka 50 million, ndio 50 million. And then the way the Chinese are doing it, and then we have to give back everything to them. Do we necessarily just have to accept? Or can we put our foot down and go you know what? We are borrowing this money from you, but then this is how you guys are going to benefit from it. And this is how we want to benefit from it. So that we find a common ground where both sides can kind of benefit, not win-win per se, but kind of benefit from that engagement. Is there room for that?
Lucia, I want you to understand that loans are part of politics. Mm-hmm. They are instruments of control. I'm telling you.
So we can't negotiate.
Loans are instruments of control. Those funders you're talking about who are bringing in money, sort of free money, to give you and do something that that money there's somewhere imetoka.
Yeah, it's actually their people's taxes.
And and imagine your pesa set they gonna profit. They are going to get some profit in Europe where they are. No. What is exactly the hidden agenda why these people are financing or funding these particular projects? Is because they've got particular interests on pushing. There's a global global politics that is being played within the concept of loans and aid and all these FDIs. Because the moment they're telling you that, as we are not financing public participation or civic activism, we are just interested in this and that and that. Kuna vitu they are trying to push, which is part of their national interest. Especially these things like LGBTQ programs.
Yeah.
They come when Democrats in America take over power. That is when there's a lot of funding around LGBTQ and so many other liberal ideologies, very extreme ideologies in the liberal world. Those are the time that those things begin to come up. And when the Republicans take over power, then you realize there's some conservatism. During Trump, those programs to do with LGBTQ and all those kind of things, they were not being funded. In fact, there's a time...
Very minimal.
Yeah, they were very minimal in funding. There was a time Trump, when he was at the UN General Assembly, he said, them they will not finance this NGO things. Let every nation take care of its own. It's America first. That is when he came up with those American first thing. So
make America great again.
Loans are part of global control. For China to grow at the pace that it wants, to compete with other world powers. Until now, it is the second largest economy in the world after the US. Then even the loans that they give out must play along the national interests or the agenda they have set. That is why they realize that they have not penetrated so much. And Africans need money. Even in this town, Lucia, if you want to con Muchendu money, you have to find out what is his selfish interest. Yeah. People are conned at their selfish points.
Yeah.
Happen to watu wanagongwa. Somebody takes advantage of your selfishness, then he turns it to his advantage. So Chinese have realized that African countries, they need development. They want to compete and look good. They do a lot of makeups in the roads, in the rural areas by constructing infrastructure here and there, but they do not have money. So what do? Let us give them money, but this money must be along the interests and the agenda that we have of being a superpower, of being economic powerhouse. And that is why when they give you money, they are not giving you that money for free like aid. No, they are giving you that money and they empower their local companies. Their local contractors in China who come here to work and bring their companies. Then that money goes back to the economy. So you remain indebted to China. They give you so many conditions. Even by the time that now you need to renegotiate the repayment plan for that loan, they bring in certain conditions also. Now, for us to renegotiate this loan, we have to open a China Square, duty-free. We have to import our things duty-free. You see, that is how they give you they sweeten the deals through those kind of traps that they've already put us in.
Have you realized the Chinese embassy is right next to a Department of Defense?
Yeah, even Russia is next to it.
Does that concern you? Because it concerns me a lot.
Yeah, anyway, there's a lot of power.
When your embassy is next to that much power, how much power do you have over that country?
It means a lot.
Because I cannot just come to your house and say, Oyola, I don't have a place to sleep for the next 2 weeks. Can you kindly accommodate me in your house? And then I just set up my mattress next to your bed. I cannot do that.
It's almost you are the owner of the house. Because unapata amechukua mzee.
Anangorota usiku naamka asubuhi nakwambia by the way ongea na madam anangorota sana siwezi lala.
And so Lucia, there is in terms of Maninos alone, countries, especially these growing economies, the global southern countries, there are some global southern countries that have already gotten out of that, like Singapore, Malaysia, and all those. They've already gotten out of that trap. The best approach that the government could have taken is, unfortunately, Raila was not able to be president, for example, so that we could have tested his talent. I don't think
things would have been different.
We cannot judge because he has never gotten the opportunity. I have a problem when we keep on turning the sides of the coin and we expect that we are making much money. You know, I've given you 20 shillings. Na imeleta face ya Kibaki ama Kibaki ilikuwa ni 40 bob.
40 bob.
40 bob. I have given you 40 shillings ile ya Kibaki. And when you look at the face, you see the face there, and you say, no, this face is not good. I need to make much money. So how do I do it? Let us turn the other side. You know, alafu sasa unaangalia side ya coat of arms. Then unaona, now this is now much money. When Jubilee got into power, the face that was top was the face of Uhuru Kenyatta. Right? And people saw that, okay, this face is now not better. We need change. You know, freedom has come. So what do? Let us turn the back of that coin so that there's a makeup. At least it looks good. You realize that the side that you turned is the same side that you are trying to run away from. It is the same coin. We have a problem in this country, especially if we cannot be able to test talents. I am a political scientist, that's my profession, and I'm a political researcher. And I will tell you for a fact, if we will never test talents in this country, so that one day we see what an Ogiek can also do, then we are in for terrible cries for a very long time. Let me give you an example. There was a problem, there was a campaign message that Muchendu were running in 2017. I was not interested in that politics. But there's a campaign that they were running about the diamond.
I like the way he's looking at you right now.
About those who are rich and those who are not poor, but those who are not rich.
The haves and the have-nots.
Not even the haves-not. But there is what they were meaning by that, yeah. All right, and now we removed the rich. You know, we removed the rich. Now we put in the poor. You know, in serious politics is always a preserve of the elite, and especially governance of a country.
Yeah.
It is always a preserve of the elite. It is not for everybody. That's why even where we derived our democracy in Greece, leadership was not for everybody. In fact, even education was not for everybody. Even the royalties, the nobles, the nobilities, people who were ruling, hata kuna education system they were going through, that was not for everybody. Because these are the topmost brains of a country that drives the entire country. They are the machine that sets the prices of everything, including the prices of Bibles, even if you are a Christian, the prices of Quran, and every other thing. You need the best out of it, not just anybody. But now we put in people who have nothing to lose. So what happens? Even if the economy goes south, they don't care. After all, what do they have to lose? They don't care.
You know, you've said that, you've reminded me of something.
Yes.
People usually say Kiambu County has some of the best minds when it comes to businesses. Up to this date, I still don't understand how Waititu was y'all's governors.
Can you not make Kiambu the subject matter this morning, kindly?
No, we are not making Kiambu the subject matter. It's just that you're the easiest example.
Look,
I don't think there's another county that has
Can I tell you something that will shock you? Can I tell you something that will shock you?
Yes.
If I was to rate the governors that have governed Kiambu,
Waititu is one of the best.
Trust you me. No, I'm not. Trust you me. I would rate Waititu better than the current governor.
Who's the current governor?
The current governor is a guy called Kimani Wamatangi, who was a senator for 10 years.
Yeah.
For 10 years. No, he's not. Actually, I saw the documents that were provided by, as a governor, then you needed to provide a degree with the IEBC. Our governor provided a theological degree, that is a theological degree. That is what he provided as his testimonials to be able to vie as a governor.
Oh wow.
Well, how we ended up with Waititu still remains a mystery. But I will tell you, people must not think that Waititu is stupid. What Waitito is, let me tell you the problem with, let me tell you, the problem with Nairobi, Kiambu and the surrounding politics, or politics in Nairobi, in Kiambu, in probably Machakos and a little bit of Murang'a, is politics of conmanship. Here in Nairobi,
why can't we just be like Kajiado? Kajiado are just chilled.
Let me tell you.
Wanakula tu nyama huko Kitengela na kunywa maziwa. They're just chilled, manze.
If you go to a place called Isiara in Kajiado, that is the Emari Loitokto route, you will divert where you have the junction going back to Kajiado town. You see the kind of water projects those guys are doing there.
Yeah.
People from my county have rushed there, including myself, to do farming.
To do farming.
To do a lot of farming. But when you come to Kiambu, because now you people have decided to talk about counties, I am not certain we will find the person who cast Kiambu and left. Because it is like he cast and disappeared into thin air. We at Kenya Kwanza, me being one of the responsible people, we campaigned for the Kenya Kwanza government, and subsequently, even when it came to county government, we campaigned for the Kenya Kwanza candidates. Wamatangi was the UDA candidate in Kiambu, and we vigorously campaigned, and he got to power. When we were drafting the 2010 Constitution, when we were drafting the 2010 Constitution and subsequently passed it, one of the biggest win for the Kenyan people was devolution. And devolution is, the word devolution is derived from, from the word devolution you derive the word devolve. And devolve, it is actually to discharge responsibilities to the lower cluster of your administration so that services can quickly get to the people. So when we were doing devolution, we did not envision where governors would become a small god or they would balkanize counties, not work. Then after we did the 2010 Constitution, I was very passionately and actively involved in the creation of the County Government Act of 2012, that actually now demystified the devolution as entrenched in the Constitution, and actually now discussed roles and responsibility of every avenue and in every arm of the county government that was created by the Constitution. So the creators saw the need, other than just the governor and his deputy, we want to create what we call a county executive committee, where a governor gets to pick people who will be in charge of any department. Under the CCMs, they saw the need to create the office of the chief officers, who would be the accounting officers of those departments and executing all the policies of the department. Under the chief officers, they saw the need to do the directors of different, if like you are the chief officer of youth and sports, you have a director for sports, you have a director for youth, and these directors, again, they are given, under them, they are what you call sub-county administrators and the sub-county officers in charge. There was a very deliberate system of running government. But in Kiambu, we are in a state where that the governor is omnipresent. He is all-powerful governor. He is everything. Today, as we are talking today, the county assembly on Wednesday impeached the CEC for finance.
Okay.
The governor has lost quite a number of chief officers who have resigned. We already have 2 ministers who already resigned. The minister who was in charge, the CEC who was in charge of roads, the CEC who was in charge of education, and we now have recently the chief officer roads, Mr. Jenga, resigning.
I think we need to start a section where we name, shame,
yes,
and weep.
So today, a county government, a normal county government like Kiambu or Nairobi, will do procurement, a daily procurement of between 60 and 100 million daily. That's how much procurement is done in different departments. Mm-hmm. Then you have a governor who has been provided an entire procurement department of the county, telling the director of procurement that any procurement that is beyond 500,000 must come by me. You tell me, as a governor who is supposed to advance the policies of your county, how long will take this county if the governor has to go through every procurement? What was the very purpose of creating an entire department of procurement? That is one. Number two, you have governors who, a governor cannot be busy every day. For a whole week, this week, he has been commissioning seedlings, giving seedlings and seeds. And I'm like, he is giving seeds. I am a farmer. Mimi niliplant mahidi yangu 5 weeks ago. Hata the first jembe kulimiwa ishalimiwa. And today you are the governor giving seeds to do what? You, as a governor, you need... I'm proud of the governor of Kisumu, and I will continue quoting him everywhere I go. The governor of Kisumu, it is only 6 months or 7 months since he became governor for a second term. Mm-hmm. He has signed 2 concessions. One was 30 billion, the other one was in the UK the other day where he signed a concession. And this is not money that is lended.
But the governor of Kisumu is a professor.
You know, let me tell you, he's not just a professor. The reason why I'm ashamed of my governor in Kiambu, they served in the same Senate with Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, the first Senate. The Governor Anyang' Nyong'o is very busy. You know, it was such an irony to see the Honorable Moses Kuria and Governor of Kisumu signing an agreement for Kisumu County.
Yeah.
I think...
where it comes from.
And Wamatangi has not done that.
It comes from Kiambu. Moses Kuria has always talked shit about the people of that region, and yet he had to sit down and sign on behalf of Kisumu County that 1 billion, while his governor is busy taking photos with graders, taking photos with people who are repairing.
Hold that thought. We will come back to the counties.
I will not talk about Kiambu again, because if I am going to talk about Kiambu, I will explode.
No, we will come back to the counties. Yes. I want us to read some comments from our viewers first, and then we want to talk about one man called Saitabao Ole Kanchori. And we are starting with you, Oyola. Maoni, comments fupi tukisonga. Mwenye amesoma kitabu ya Kanchori tafadhali, comments fupi tukisonga. Jeff the activist, good morning. Jeff is saying, I think we should now revisit what Dr. Ekuru Okot once talked about. That is punguza mizigo. It's time. Streaming from Taita Taveta University. Hey, watu wa Taita Taveta Mwambadze. Is that what you say, Amayoni Awagiriama?
I thought you were from Taita.
No, I'm not.
You know, Taita ladies fetch highly in the wife market.
Dear Mama, we are from Taita now.
They're fair prices.
Mwangi Jr. says, buy Kenya, build Kenya should be the way to go. And Mwangi Jr., I totally agree with you. I think India tried that sometime and it worked well for them. Alex is watching us from Meru. Salimia watu wa Meru sana. Mwangi Jr. also says, Governor Muchendu niko tuned. Good morning from Kiambu County. Ndio huyo mtu wa county yako, Governor. Mwangi Jr. Governor kwa hapa ana complain sana kuhusu governor wenyu. Kwani huyo governor anafanya nini huko Kiambu County? Nick Carl says, alright, Mheshimiwa Bitok. Mheshimiwa Bitok yuko hapa leo, lakini najua itamfikia. Dennis Kirui says, Gerald Bitok, I'm here in Embakasi East and I would like to ask you one favor. Na kuomba uniundie casual job, brother. We will talk much pale inbox. Otherwise, I am tuned in. Anyone who might have a casual job for Dennis Kirui, tafadhali comments fupi hapo kwa comment section. Chris Wekesa says, tuned. Alafu bro, I'll give you a call. Chris Wekesa, which bro? Oyola ama Governor Muchendu ama ni Bitok? Regina Wangui Masharia says, good morning, Governor P. Muchendu, we are tuned. Jane Mumbi says, ha, y'all got jokes. We do. Wachaneni na Kiambu. Tumewacha. Moving on swiftly. One site about Ole Kanchori has made the waves. Anyway, ameandika a very long article. Sijui kama you had a chance to read it, Oyola.
I have just gotten I've not yet gotten the book yet, but there are parts that have been
highlighted.
The synopsis is here and there. There are some cut and paste somewhere. But I think Governor Muchendu has gotten an idea. Yeah, I know you would be so interested.
Governor, umesoma kitabu.
What I must
Kimani Ichung'wah has tweeted and told Baba, even your chief campaigner, knows that you lost. Pole sana.
But you see, if you look at it, the book, he has actually accepted that Baba won, despite all those things.
Yeah.
He has said there that he still believes Baba won. I will not go on the who won and who did not win, but I will tell you for a fact, Lucia, that economy part, I will say it later as we finish.
Reserve comments for baadaye.
You know what I will.
Lucia, for us who believed in Azimio,
Yeah.
it was so disappointing. That loss was so painful that when President William Ruto was declared, the hunger in people, it was too much that you could not even say anything. You cannot even go to maandamano. That's why aungeona hata Kisumu kama there's any in Mombasa. I mean, things were very calm.
Oyola, have you healed? Or are you healing?
I will tell you for a fact. Let nobody from Azimio lie to you that they have healed.
Healing is a process.
Actually, they were disappointed. People were just disappointed that for almost now the 5th time, we cannot be able to get this seat. You see, but we're still using the same excuses we've been using all a while. And sometimes even there's a time our presidential candidate was in his home constituency. It was a certain burial. And he gave an example that, the gazelle, we took our spear and we pierced the gazelle and it ran away with it. So we are going to take it. And I heard from the crowd, because I was somewhere behind, people can shout, wewe saa zile ilikuwa inakimbia ulikuwa unafanya nini?
Where were you?
Where were you? Could it be that every time gazelle goes with your spear? So Lucia, the election that we lost in 2022 was one of the most disappointing election. Not to everybody, no. Even Kenya Kwanza, they had a short-lived celebrations. But now reality is checking in. You hear Muchendu is now speaking from both sides of his mouth.
No, that's democracy. You know what, Oyola, the one thing, I read an article that Boniface Mwangi wrote, giving an analysis of the election and how Azimio conducted it and which were the weak points. And from all the stories I've had, the weak points of 2013 were the weak points of 2017, were the weak points of 2022. At what point do people take responsibility and just accept we did not pay agents, we did not take good care of our people, we did not do this, there was not presence of people here and there, because we continue pushing this narrative of Fungua Sava, which I do not have a problem with. It's your right to demand what you want to demand. But can Azimio side take responsibility for where they failed? I believe it when they say Raila won. I honestly believe he won. Because sometimes I look at our government, especially during the inauguration, and you could see the surprise on their faces. They could not believe they were government. It's like, you guys, we are government. Even our deputies, not yet. Even the deputies. And up to this point, they're still shook that they're government. They talk alafu wana realize, by the way, we are government. We are the ones who need to do something about it. So to that extent, it makes me believe Raila won. And these people did not expect to win. That's why that win is still shocking them to their core. And they're just like, now what do we do here? What do we do there? It's confusion all over. Everyone is running their show. And I want to say this. I did not vote in that election because my candidate was Ruben Kigame. That was my candidate of choice, by the way, if you ask me. I did not feel like between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, I needed to pick the lesser evil or the bigger good. Or izo vitu, I'm not with that narrative. But unfortunately, my choice of president akukua pale kwa ballot. IEBC Chebukati, anajua ile kitu alifanya. And which is okay. So we opened the servers, and then what? Alafu pia, this is the other thing. If Kenya Kwanza really believed they won, and they won legitimately, without stealing or cheating, mbona kufungua server imewashinda? No, Muchendu, if your phone goes missing right now, and there's 3 of us in this room, and we close that door, no one else has come in, no one else has gone out, and we say, everybody in this room, open your bags so that we can confirm if that phone is in any of those bags. If I did not steal that phone, Muchendu, I will give you my bag to check it so that you can absolve me
what
and
I have
we
a
move
problem
on.
with those people who are asking for servers to be open. Are we now saying that we do not appreciate the concept of independent commissions? Because both those of you who are Ruben Kigame's fan never featured in the ballot, and my Azimio guys here, and Kenya Kwanza, which I was inclined in, all of us, we were being refereed by IEBC.
Yeah.
And the IEBC is the one with the responsibility, because I'm finding it very outrageous that people continue telling William Ruto to open the server as if William Ruto was the referee in that election. William Ruto, whether you want to see it as a benefactor of the issues within IEBC or otherwise, both William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza and Azimio people who are in the ballot, all of them, we were being refereed by Chebukati and the IEBC. And despite the fact that the IEBC commissioners are no longer there, the secretariat of IEBC is very active. If anybody feels that there is need to open the server, it is not William Ruto to open the server. You see,
this
let
is
me
the
finish.
thing.
Let me finish.
Okay.
If today an election is conducted and I'm competing against Lucia and I am declared the winner, you will not continue going to the street to shout that we must open the server. I mean, go to the street and tell IEBC to open the server, because both you and myself were candidates who are being refereed by IEBC. Unless you have now abdicated the role of independent commission, now that you are requesting the president to open the server, I think there is no way you can have your cake and eat it at the same time, because the people who are supposed to open the server, have I seen any of you, Lucia, and everybody else who wants the server open going to the courts to ask the IEBC to, because you had an opportunity to present a case before the Supreme Court. Apparently, the leader of Azimio here, my friend, has a video of Chebukati going to his house and that of Raphael Tuju, but miraculously they could not produce that evidence during the very trial they took to the Supreme Court. I mean, I find it to be a lot of abracadabra. Let me tell you, elections, your preparedness. If you read the book of Kanchora, there's a very interesting section where he talks about the managing and the manning of the tarring center and the command center of Azimio.
Yeah.
They could not even agree who was the person responsible to be in charge of the command center. And let me tell you, you cannot transfer.
Junet alienda
Let me tell you, Junet was only very good in the microphone kusema hii imeenda, and I agree he actually prophesied imeenda. This is what I'm saying, and I will repeat this again for them to hear. You know why Kibaki and Raila Odinga and company were able to successfully remove Moi in 2002? It is because when Raila Odinga said Kibaki tosha, there was a very intentional leadership structure of the coalition to win the election in 2002. There was no competition. You remember the likes of Professor Nikki Wanjohi, who were controlling the tarring center of that coalition those days. The Azimio people, as the elder brother of Raila Odinga said, sasa wako na system. They will win election in 2022 because they have a system. So they failed to plan. Let me tell you, my friend, I was going around the counties on the election day. After I voted at Gatora Primary School in Deya, Limuru, I went to 4 constituencies on the election day. I was able to traverse 4 constituencies in Kiambu and entered into about 31 polling stations in total. There was no single polling station with an Azimio presidential agent. 0. Nowhere. Because let me tell you, as a good campaigner and a good politician that I am, and I'm competing against Lucia, there are two places I would be very strict in terms of agent. One, I would put serious agents in my strongest areas, and I would also put what we call spy agents in where Lucia is very strong, because there where Lucia is very strong, it is a very serious and a very ripe ground to actually manipulate votes if you say. Now, you cannot come, and this is what I thought, you go and say that in Roiro some votes were stolen or they were added, but in the records of IEBC there exists no agent. Who is that who actually witnessed votes being stolen? So let's quit this nonsense of saying open the server. If you lose, accept that you people were poorly managed. You people are competing for attention. You people thought because the president was supporting you, it was an outright win. Those are the things. Let's accept and move on. Because even this bipartisan thing we are talking about here, I trust you, me, and this is where probably I part ways with my fellow Kenya Kwanza people. These bipartisan talks.
Va helmet.
Seriously, va helmet. You know the good thing with Lucia, and you have known me for so many years, I talk my mind. Yeah. I do not think it is going to be effective in whichever way in resolving anything, if you ask me. And I think both players knows it. But I also think that it is sheer nonsense to be on the street on things that cannot actually change. Let me tell you, you cannot go on the street and give demands that the president must do this or that. In the first place, you do not recognize him as president. And you know, it is weird, the advisor of Azimio on those street demos is Professor Makao Mutua, who did not recognize in his entire life, has always referred President Kenyatta to Mr. Kenyatta. He is now referring to Ruto as Mr. Ruto. And you want to talk about taking this country forward? Let me tell you, my brother, the best thing Azimio and cahoots can do, it is to accept that the president, because let me tell you, my argument is that we gave ourselves a constitution in 2010 that spells out the process of our electioneering electioneering structure. It gives, if as a president, to become declared as a president in an election, you must gather 50 plus 1, you must gather 25% at least from the majority counties for you to be declared as a president. It says if the loser is not satisfied, this is the process that person must follow to be able to get his issues addressed. We have gone through that process, and that process has abided in the fact that IEBC declared William Ruto the president, and that the court has found it to be a legal process. You see, you do not go to the court for the court to decide that whether the entire process was flawless. You don't go to the court for that. You do not go to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to actually declare somebody else as a president, because the Supreme Court cannot amend our constitution to declare a winner. You go to court for the court to look and say, when we look at the entire process with its flaws, we think that we are satisfied that it met a certain parameters to actually give us a credible election. And the moment that is ruled and you accept, and we move on, and then a few months later you are coming out to tell us to go to the street, I mean, you're just being unfair. Let me ask you, my brother, when you go to the street in Nairobi, does that add more maize to the country? You know, let me tell you, it does not add more meat to the country. In fact, the people who are trading in Nairobi are the biggest. I have seen people in my neighborhood who work in Nairobi. They will send money, watu waandikwe mashamba, walime hizo mahindi, wafanye hizo planting and what have you. Let us be reasonable. Coming to the street does not reduce the cost. I mean,
Governor, Oyola amesema watu wa Azimio bado wanapona. Wacha tuwapatie room.
Let me tell you, they don't need to heal. Because let me tell you, this is what I believe.
If we don't heal, we will go to the street.
No.
Because the young has to go away somehow.
I will say this, and this is the major problem, and we have discussed this issue with you, Lucia. I can't remember which show we talked about the creation of the official opposition leader. Do you know why these guys go to the street? And I have an issue when someone who has gotten 6-point-something million votes does not have an official channel to address the issues
very
affecting.
Dangerous.
Let me tell you, it's a very dangerous thing.
Gentlemen, I agree with both of you, and I can't remember if it was you I was having that conversation with on how the election system of the US. You know, the way they say that, fine, you can have that 50+1, but when you look at the counties, did you get like a majority? I'm not quite conversant with how that system works, but
There
you know,
is
when we look at it and compare it to our 2022 election, there is no way you're convincing Raila he did not win, you know.
No, what I'm saying is this, if someone has gotten 6 point, was it 6.9? I can't remember. Was 6 point what?
I can't remember the figures, but yeah.
Azimio. It was 6 point what?
It was 7. It was just 7. 6.9.
6.9 million. It is very dangerous for someone who has gotten such a following, whether based on ideologies or fanatical following. The truth of the matter that if I have garnered 6.9 million, it is very dangerous that I do not have an official channel to actually address the issues. And this is what I am saying. So do we
consider the BBI?
Let me tell you. No, you know, the BBI was just a piece of nonsense put together because most of the sweeteners that were put there for people to pass BBI were things that could be done without BBI. What I am saying is, and I have shared this so much, I was always of the opinion that we needed to amend our constitution so that the number two, the people who comes second in an election, either the presidential candidate goes to the National Assembly and his running mate goes to the Senate or vice versa, so that they are able to continue to articulate the issues of those people who elected them. And that is why I'm saying, if I was a member of this bipartisan approach, this is what I will do. And I would hope this can address two issues that are burning in me. One, they need to address that issue of making sure that presidential candidate, because let me tell you, Azimio without Raila Odinga is not Azimio, and that is a fact. You can go to the moon and come back, but that remains to be a fact. There is no way Junet or any other or the minority leader in parliament will articulate the issues in that assembly the way their leaders would articulate the issues. So let us look at how we actually have Raila. Instead of having Raila asking people to come to the street to be heard, he has an opportunity in Bunge to go and represent the people who elected him, marshal his troops to whatever they want to do in parliament. That is one. Number two, as a person who comes from Mount Kenya, I believe the bipartisan team, and I am disappointed that we do not have a representative of Mount Kenya, which is a very serious region in that bipartisan committee, either from Azimio or from Kenya Kwanza. There is this issue of one man, one vote, one shilling. Can I tell you, trust you me, Mount Kenya, Nyanza and Western, and some of the Rift Valley areas are the ones that are affected, especially when we are dispersing CDF bursary, CDF development. You know, it is not an issue that is affecting just Mount Kenya. So when we have an opportunity where readers, because if a reader in Western says that we need to add the bursary kit for CDF, that would be echoed by someone in Mount Kenya and someone in Rift Valley and someone in part of the coast where there is a lot of population. When we are talking about bipartisan, those pertinent issues that have never found themselves in the center of the conversation in parliament, this provides that opportunity. We address the issue of opposition and we address the issue of equitable distribution of our resources. Those are the things that concern Wajiko. But if the bipartisan committee is reduced to the bare minimum of Kenya Kwanza, of Azimio, Azimio, which is not talking about Mwananchi. Look at the issues. The cost of living is just by the way. In any case, Raila in Mombasa, Ebore and articulate said that wale wanasema maisha iko juu ni kubweka wanabweka. So them putting the issue of cost of living is a sweetener in the power deal they're looking for. And that's a fact. So this is what I would say. As Kenya Kwanza, the leaders of Kenya Kwanza cannot continue parading Raila as the subject matter of this nation. Because I say this and I always say it without fear of contradiction whatsoever. Raila Odinga does not stop government from sitting down and looking on ways to address the economic sabotage that has happened before. So Raila is not the cause organism of the day in addressing the issues of economy. Raila does not stop government from addressing our tax regime and our power regime, because power in Kenya is one of the costly countries in terms of cost of production. So we cannot continue as Kenya Kwanza to talk about Raila as the person who stops us from moving forward. So then that bipartisan cannot be just about Raila Odinga and what he wants. If we are talking about bipartisan, I want to see the Azimio has brought, is it a 6-point agenda?
There's fresh demands. Oyola will tell us.
Of course, in a bipartisan talk, things continue to evolve. I don't have a problem when they evolve as long as the original discussion is not lost in between. I am very interested to see this bipartisan team from KK, what are the issues they are going to bring on the table. And I'm afraid that the one man, one vote, one shilling may not feature because those of us who are passionate about it have not been represented. I mean, how do you have a bipartisan talk in parliament where even the majority leader is not part of it? I mean, it sounds funny, not unless it is supposed to be a gimmick and nothing will happen, because I think what President Ruto has done is that he has said Azimio can talk to themselves. I have seen the minority leader apparently being quoted as saying that some of the people nominated by KK are sympathizers of I think the president in a way showed you the middle finger and told you I'm not interested in anything that bipartisan committee is going. Well, I may agree. Maybe Kimani Ichung'wah and the rest who are considered to be hardliners maybe could not have been part of the bipartisan talk because we wanted people who can be actually sit and talk. But let's agree that the center of discussion for that bipartisan talk must be the issues that are relating to common mwananchi. Can we make the tax regime and the tax we are charging our country part of it? Can we talk about industrialization? Because basically that guy who treks from Kibera to town is interested in a place he can earn money and feed his family. Because let me tell you, if these guys who are in our informal settings within the city have something to do every day, they will not have time to go to the street. They will wake up and go on for their family. So I think our watu ya Azimio na hii watu ya KK save this country from a lot of political drama. It's only in Kenya, in the entire Africa, I guess, where we win an election and start campaign the following day.
Just hold that thought, Oyola. So, Unga Limited, unlike our politicians, have your best interests at heart. Kama wewe ni mkulima wa mifugo, because they bring you fugo feeds for your animals. And fugo is a descriptive word that originates from the word kufuga, meaning the art of rearing farm animals. So if you're rearing any farm animals, please check in with Unga Limited for fugo feeds. They have fugo poultry, they have fugo fish, they have fugo for dairy, and many other options. And their tagline is really cute for y'all because it means when your livestock are well fed, you get more money. So malezi bora, mapato zaidi. Check them out. Their prices are very friendly. Na I think mifugo wako watafurahia kwa sababu who does not like good food? Mimi kama Mluya.
Actually, I would. I do a lot of chicken farming at home.
Have you used Fugo feeds?
Actually, both the chick mash, the growers, and the layers.
Oh, great.
For Unga feeds. They are the best, especially when you have just hatched chickens, those chicks, small chicks. You cannot get the best food. It's the prices is slightly higher than the rest, but it is the best is also quality good. Food for layering chickens. And if you want to get maximum yield in terms of eggs and what have you, if you want to see growth in terms of growers and what have you, Uga feeds ranks the best. I mean, that's what I found my parents using.
You know, mkulima hapa amewapatia testimonials.
So if you want to do good chicken, if you want to get some of the best heifers to give you maximum yield in terms of milk, I will tell you in a day, you may feel like it's a bit a pinch, but they say cheap is very expensive.
Yes, it is.
So go for Uga feed products and you will see the difference. I've seen it. When you come home, you get a lot of chickens. I know you are Mruya.
Hey, nichinjiwe moja tafadhali.
Well. So Uga feed is doing very well. And by the way, you added the advert wanilipe bwana.
Watu wa Lakeside kuna pia Fugo feeds for fish. So sio machemeji peke yake tumeangaliwa, pia nyinyi watu wa Rech Gikuon.
Yes.
Kuna Fugo feeds for fish. So you can check them out and they're available at an agrovet close to you.
Yep.
Now, Oyola,
yes.
While you give your commentary on the bipartisan talks, and I also want you to touch on the ousting of Sabina Chege, just a little.
All right. There's one thing that we have to get clear from the book of, is it Saitabao Kanchora, that he has said that he believed Baba won. Let's not people get it wrong.
Okay.
That one is clear. He said he believed Baba won. But the reason why the mistakes that caused our win are mistakes that we have been crying for years, year out. From 2013 to 2017, we are still crying about the same particular things, about mismanagement. Baba is a very good politician. He's a very good mobilizer. Of course, he's a man who loves this country, and that is why he cannot be reckless with the power that he has in the population to bring the country down. And I want to agree with Governor Muchendu here that the office of the opposition, in fact, I'd not seen it in that angle, but he has brought it out so well that leaving somebody out who has got half the country to roam anywhere, just roaming without anything, commitment, it's very dangerous. If you get a reckless opposition leader in future, a young person who has no family, has nothing to lose, has no investment, who doesn't care, like Napoleon Bonaparte. Let's get a Napoleon Bonaparte, for example. He will run down everything. And therefore, we need this office of the official opposition leader, not for Raila. Raila himself is an office. You know, Baba is an institution, which nobody can ignore. And that's why, that is why I'm not very comfortable when I hear certain unthoughtful words coming from the government that opposition can do whatever they want. It is not about them. This country is not part of President William Ruto's Sugoi home. This is a country where everybody is a member, is a part and parcel of an ownership.
Calm down.
Muchendu is part of this country. I am part of this country. I will not allow my personal ambition of dislike to Muchendu make you, Lucia, be affected by the same personal ambition that I have. I don't see any problem that William Ruto and Gachagua gets when they invite the opposition to sit down and talk. If it's about the resources of this country, these resources will continue to be there. So President William Ruto will be a president, somebody will be there, somebody will be there, somebody will be there, until the day that the world is over. There will be so many presidents. You don't have to make this country suffer, that people's businesses are getting, they're getting looted, lives are getting lost because of a small thing called political difference. It doesn't make sense. And therefore, I would ask the president and the administration of Kenya Muchendu to at least see a way they can reach a compromise in all these things so that we bring the country back to order. There's a big benefit that comes when the community, when not community, when the nation or the citizens are believing and trusting in their government. Remember, one of the goodwill that Kibaki got, why the economy had to grow very fast after he took over the economy from zero to, actually it was negative growth to almost 7 by around 2000 and, is it 2000 and what? When it was around 9%, is it 10% or 9?
9%.
9%.
Yes.
It's because when he took over power, the whole citizens were behind the president. They believed in this government. People were working hard. People trusted each other. Up to a point where the citizens walianza kushika polisi. Wakiona polisi anachukua bribe, they go and arrest the police.
Yeah.
So when the nation or the whole nation or the citizens are mobilized together to work together as a country, the country grows very fast.
Yeah.
But when you have half the country and you're imagining that you can make miracle with the remaining half, you cannot do that. It is simple, normal sense. And therefore, I would ask the president to talk to his deputy and overzealous politicians like my friend Kimani Ichung'wah, that it is not about them. No, this is not about them. It is about the country. It is about the interest of so many people. And particularly, I know, in fact, I've never been supporting handshake. The reason why I'm not supporting handshake is because when this handshake happens, I have not healed from the first handshake. That we only saw 3 people coming from the meeting. We only saw Junet, we only saw Winnie Odinga, and we only saw Jacob.
Yeah.
In our people down there, almost 6 million people where my community where I'm coming from, we never felt that we got a good deal out of that handshake. There is this habit that people surrounding Jacob need to get rid of. That they believe they know everything and nobody can tell them anything. In that book of Kanchori, he says that Baba he cannot be advised. He listens to himself more than what anybody can tell him. That is what he says. And I
that
tend
makes
to agree.
the big difference between Baba and Ruto.
And I tend
because
to
our
agree.
president takes advice, actually.
Yes, or just because of election. Initially, Ruto was the alpha and omega, accounting what he was. You know him.
No, not really.
Let me tell you.
During campaign, let me finish.
Don't touch the wrong buttons,
From
my
accounts
friend.
of people who have, and I'm not even defending him. From accounts of people who have dealt with him, he seeks advice. He might not implement it, but he seeks it.
Now let me tell you. I don't know when. You know, William. I'm not knowing William Ruto. Same time, my friend Governor Muchendu is knowing him. In the whole life that William Ruto was an MP, he was my MP.
Okay.
I was born in Eldoret North.
You come from UG
I live
County.
in Eldoret Town. I live in Kamukunji, Kidiwa West. I vote in Eldoret Union Primary School. That is where I vote. And in 92, I was in IDP camp in Eldoret West at NCCK headquarters. So William Ruto was my MP. I am not knowing him in Nairobi. He's a guy I know from home. In fact, William Ruto is closer to me.
How old were you in 1992?
William Ruto is I was still a young boy. But I remember those incidences of post-election violence in 92. I still remember the skirmishes of 92.
YK 92.
Nakumbuka nikikula nyama na sukuma wiki ilikuwa inakuja kwa packed. Ilikuwa ile mkebe yenye ilikuwa nakatwa na kisu hivi, unapata kama ndani kuna sukuma wiki imeboiliwa na nyama pia ilikuwa inakuja hivyo. I still remember very well. Na watu tulikuwa tunaamsha usiku, maneno mingi I don't want to go back to. I want to tell my friend Muchendu that William Ruto, to me, if you ask me, all politicians in Nyanza is closer to me than all those people. Because to me he's like a brother. I have grown up with him in the same area. It's only that he was my leader and we don't share with him same political ideology by then. I've been brought up to believe in my mature age that William Ruto is my enemy. But I'm realizing that actually William Ruto might not be the enemy, our enemy. Our enemy is actually poverty.
Yeah.
Our enemy is deprivation,
poverty,
marginalization,
injustice.
I am telling you, Lucia, I come from a region that is very sad, especially this cry of young people must be heard, and it must be heard very well. We are not privileged like a Kenya Muchendu. You know, there's a not privilege per se, but if you see a young woman anaendesha gari yake hii town, lazima uheshimu huyo mtu. Places we have come from, the kind of deprivation, the kind of marginalization that my people have had to contend with, there are very sad instances and of stories that if somebody sits down and give them to you, you feel so bad.
Oyola, who is your governor?
And therefore, it's not about even the governor.
Who is your current governor?
My current governor is Gladys Wanga. She's doing some very good work. Let me give you an example. When Waititu was hosted, and Nani was taken over. Nani took over. Nyoro took over. Mm-hmm. The chief officer for governance is a young man I taught politics at Kenyatta University called George Dhuku. George Dhuku would call me to go to, because we were very prominent by the time we were student leaders at University of Nairobi. Mm-hmm. All these universities really used to call us to come and consult for them, advise them how to win elections. And George Dhuku would call me and I would go to Kenyatta University, hapo ofisi yake, a student chairman, and we'll tell him how to manage and go through certain challenges that they go through. By that time, you thought that you are all equal. Then within moments, unaona George Dhuku is now chief officer. What happens in, which county do you come from, Lucia? You're assuming you're coming from Kakamega.
I come from Kakamega County.
Now,
yeah.
Kakamega, sazile wana-announcingi chief officer or CEC. What are the conditions they give you? If you are a Mluya who want to be a chief officer or you want to be a CEC in Kakamega County, you must have 10 years experience. That is what they tell you.
Yeah.
There is a commissioner called Wamboi Nyutu. Wamboi Nyutu, she's a vice chair of NCIC. You know? Mm-hmm. You know Wamboi Nyutu?
Yeah, I know Wamboi Nyutu.
Wamboi Nyutu is a young girl. Before even she joined law school, her sister contacted me because we were very loud during the time we were student leaders. Mm-hmm. And she told me, my sister, we want her to go to University of Nairobi. Which course do you think is better? Do you think she can do that? Nikamwambia, everything is okay. Go there. Wamboi Nyutu joined. By the time she was getting into student politics, we were among the people who were mentoring Wamboi Nyutu because we were as seniors, helping her to juggle this, vie here and there. She vied and lost as a student leader because of so many other reasons. Now Wamboi Nyutu is actually a chief commissioner. Zach Kinuthia was my classmate. Mm-hmm. Tuliingia naye same time, same course, same class, same time we left university. Zach Kinuthia was my classmate. Zach Kinuthia amemaliza government when he is a CAS.
Uh-huh.
He's a CAS. You know, and the stories are so many about young people from Rift Valley and from Mount Kenya, people that you thought you were your age mates, and they have been held hand by their either mentee politicians is it mentors?
Mentors, yeah.
Yeah, the mentor politicians from Mount Kenya or from Rift Valley. Now look at our case. Lucia, when you were in college, mm-hmm. among the most eloquent, you know, brilliant, good public speaker, orators, you know, when you walikuwa hata wasichana wazuri wao ndio walikuwa wanachukua, good dressers, they were mostly people from the lakeside, and they were mostly when you walikuwa wanafanya student politics, na wao ndio walikuwa sana wanashinda. Can it surprise you that Muchendu, the people that he went to school with at that time, who are from where I come from, he can no longer trace them where they are right now in terms of leadership of our country. The people Muchendu wanaona saa hii are just strange faces. Hata jui wakati alikuwa university walikuwa wapi. Muchendu I'm saying the truth.
Why do you think you are speaking here?
It's the way he's looking.
Why do you think you are talking on behind?
The way he's looking at.
Today, let me tell you, I started mentioning the people I went to school with.
So you realize that there's a big problem with the kind of political arrangements that our people are going through back in the region where I come from, because it is the only region that I know. Even Somalis have produced leaders apart from MCs who are below 40 years. Where I come from in Nyanza, the youngest person ukitoa viti za MC Muchendu, hizo masiti zimebaki ya president na MC umetoa kando. Hizo siti zimebaki ngapi? 4. Hakuna mtu below 42 years from Nyanza. Hata moja.
youth wa Nyanza wanaanza na age ya Uhuru Odinga.
They cannot get a space to grow. And this is the things that we have to make sure that we keep on pushing. We say so that this message gets home. And as I finish, ODM is a very good party. It's a social democratic party that believed in certain ideologies that if was given a chance to either execute it intentionally, we'll be having a lot of changes in our country. But the country has got a problem with leadership and administration. There is no way you can tell me that we lose election 3 times, 2013, 2017, 2022. The same officials of ODM, none of them has been sacked for incompetence. None of them has been sacked for incompetence. What message does that send you when you have an organization or a company that is continuing to make losses? It continue for example kama ni janitor ama mwenye anaangalia kuku za Muchendu. Na kila siku unapanda kuku 2 zimepotea. Umepata bata aziko, unaenda unapata everything keep on getting lost. Chakula umepotea, lete paketi 4, ameleta paketi 2. And Muchendu does not sack that person. It tells you that Muchendu is not serious with that farming.
Complacency.
So this complacency that is in the ODM party, that there's a cartel that has taken the party hostage and taken advantage of the party leader, such that anybody to them, currency matters more than ideology. It takes care of even popularity ya mtu. Wao ndio wame succeed to drain Baba to the hole. Wao ndio wame succeed to kill the party. And my desire was that is only that ODM has reached a point where it cannot come back again, because everything has got a lifespan and it has reached a maturity age where it cannot grow anymore. But I would really ask our people that in the future, we should not be able to cry about losing an election because of the mismanagement, not listening to people. You must be a team player. When I was looking at how William Ruto nominated this bipartisan team, though some of them waliwekwa pale were not in good faith. People like Kenan, Jubilee, there's a lot of Jubilee is still seen to be part of Azimio.
Yeah.
So you don't take rebels to come and it's like I've married you, and when we have a problem, when we have a problem with you, you still call your ex to be the person negotiating. It doesn't look good, You know that now that you've said that, Sabina Chege says it's the coalition partners who are bringing her these. So that's where I was now finishing at. Sabina Chege, it's only that this politics here, Kenya is just shameless. We made it look like a brothel. People really don't care. It looks like a bar. It's so messy. Not even a bar, ni ile bar ile kidogo ya chini huko enye watu wanakunywa
wewe
watu wanakunywa busa na zile
busa was just chilling, please busa was just chilling. Watu wa ikolomani watu wa Boni Halwale, kuna mtu hapa ameingililia maneno yenu na sijafurahia.
I will have that definition of Kenyan politics again. Take one.
Please, leave Busa out of it.
It is actually a very sad, messy description. Na nile ba ile ndogo nye mtu mguu yake viatu inanuka, mtu ajabra.
Amesema hivyo, unajua amenikumbusha wimbo gani? Tony Braxton once sang this song and she said, a smoky room, a small cafe. He said that. I just imagine tule to kiosk to a village pale kwa shopping center, that one door yenye hata ujuangi ni nini, unaweza fikiria ni nyumba.
Me, I think that is how I can describe Sabina Chege. I don't think there is any description I can give that good lady.
Let me tell you, you must leave a mountain as alone.
We support women's participation in politics.
People of the mountain.
And that is like the politics of Kiambu.
But the truth and the fact is that Kenyan's politics lacks ideology.
True, I agree with that.
Parties are not based on ideology. Can I tell you, in your living life, the entire life that God is going to give you, you will never have a handshake between the Democrats and the Republicans. You will never have a handshake in the UK between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, because the political ideologies that drives this party are very distinct. If you go to the Labour Party, they are talking about social protection. It's one of their major things, economic recovery. If you go to the Conservatives, they want to continue making the British army the best army in the world. They believe, there are drives that drive their agendas. The reason why you see there is a lot of funding for women rights, LGBTQ and all those things, it is because the current party in the US is the Democrats, and specifically there is a wing within the Democrats that is called the liberals. So they believe in liberating people and the freedom of association, the freedom of this and that. But here in the country, it is the reason why you would have a handshake between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. Have you ever seen the memes of how they ditched each other and the shit they talked about each other?
Yeah.
Yet they are the people we saw coming out of the handshake, because in Africa and specifically in Kenya, it's politics of survival, not really the politics of development that govern. It is the reason why they are not being shameless. It is how we have set our political conditioning, that I can be Azimio today and tomorrow very early in the morning
you party hop into Kenya
Kwanza, because that is the nature that describes the Kenyan politics. So I think you need to cut the Honorable Sabina Chege some slack, because he's not behaving any different from the politicians from your end.
That's what she was.
Haven't we seen the governors who are ODM governors who have served their second time, and the moment Ayiela did not get power, they are now lining up at State House. We have some of the governors from ODM are now CASs.
Our politicians are inherently selfish.
Let me tell you, it is not our politicians. Don't say politicians. It is Kenyans in general.
Okay,
because let me tell you, it is only in Kenya where today you can be a businessman, a shrewd one, and tomorrow a damn politician. It is only in Kenya that happens. Because when you go to the US, you look at most politicians you have today, in their lineage, you will find that there were people who are in politics before them. But here in Kenya, my guy here from that region will come to Nairobi and get a contract of 7 billion shillings and get some money, and tomorrow he becomes a member of parliament courtesy of his money. How do you expect those politicians to behave? They do not behave any different from us. And let me tell you, the kind of breed of politician we have are a true reflection of who we are as a people. So if our politicians are not doing well, be rest assured it is like right now, like I said, if now Kiambu is in a mess, it is a reflection of how messed up we as the Kiambu people are, because these people did not get a militia and got to power. They came to you and we independently went to the ballot and voted them. So if they are messing up, it is a reflection of who we are as a people. If Sabina is messing up, it is a reflection of the composition of Azimio in general. No. Because, let me tell you, if you are a statistic person, my friend, you sample. And we can actually sample a number of politicians who are free-flopping within Azimio. And if we say that we have enough sampling that shows that Sabina Chege is not behaving any different from other politicians, it is only that he is on the chopping board right now. But she's not behaving any differently from any other KK Azimio politician. It is just a clique of leadership that we have brought into this country, where you just elect any Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes. As long as he comes with chums, you do not care what is his past.
But you see, I would exonerate the people from Kiambu for having been blamed by Muchendu. I will not blame the people. It is the wave. You know, politicians from their area, they come with the wave. And you see, when a wave comes, sazile upepo huwa inakuja. Imebeba michanga, imebeba matawi, imebeba nguo zingine, old panties, all these kind of things. They're all carried. They are going with it. So when election goes with the wave, especially the one that in Kenya we go through, especially in Rift Valley, Nyanza, and Mount Kenya, the one wanaendanga na wave sana. You realize that they come with all manner of things. Were people like Wamatangi, you know, Kiambu has got very funny names of leaders, Wamatangi, Kawanjiko. And if you want to win in Mount Kenya, the very first, Muchendu, I know one day will vie. If you want to win in Mount Kenya, the first thing you have to do, make sure you look for the nearest shop, Bible shop, nunua Biblia upitembea na kumfuko.
You guys, as we reflect on that, Bunge la Mwananchi is open. If you have something to contribute to the conversation, you can call us on 0727 919 322. The number is 0727 919 322.
Thank you. There's that part of Sabina Chege that, sorry, I still want to. The reason why I described it as messy as it was is because how sensible does it make to you that you're a minority, minority? You're supposed to be counter-checking with the majority on various policy documents. And you've crossed over to join the person you're supposed to be checkmating. Really, Lucia, how does it work, honestly?
But then
so you simply relinquish that seat, you leave it to another person who will make that seat functional. You know the reason why the Constitution placed that seat there? It is not just a seat as a makeup to make you look good and have a title. No. That seat has got more privileges than a normal seat of a normal MP. Unasikia?
Yeah.
So the seat has got functions. For those functions to be there, you have to make sure that you occupy what the Constitution talks about. Now you're representing minority and you've crossed over to join the majority. It means that the function of that particular office will remain redundant, yet they are being paid for extra allowances, extra offices, extra cars, extra staff. It really does not really make sense. It only takes somebody to be a gentle lady. Sabina Chege is a gentle lady, though there's a video of us that I saw, some funny photo in some club. But that is that's a private life. But all the same, she needs to relinquish that position. Awachie mtu ambaye ataweka that office functional.
But you see, we have a former governor who's now a senator.
Who's that?
Manago. Yeah?
Yeah, he got it silly in a very silly way, by the way.
The work of a senator.
Even have, is it Mandela? I can't remember. You also have another governor.
Yeah, there's also another one, I think. Yeah. You see now, if the Senate is supposed to oversight the governorship, yeah? So at this point, tukileta evils that were done in Uasin Gishu in the previous terms, is he oversighting himself?
Actually, not. In fact, the current governor cannot touch evils that are done by the former governor who is already a senator, because this one is now watching him.
You see. So that's why Sabina Chege can
don't let
have
me tell
the
you.
confidence to say what she's
Personally, I have
saying.
a personal issue with the fact that you can serve as a governor and go back to the Senate.
Yeah.
It talks so much. Personally, I have an issue with the Senate because what is the parameters under which you actually measure if your senator is working for you? Because it cannot be just oversight. Because those senators who are purporting to do oversight, most of them are balkanizing the current governors in the hope of tomorrow they will marshal a campaign for governorship. Again, if they do not touch the current governors, they are just idle people in Bunge because they don't have a fund, they don't have project they are doing as senators. Their work is, and I think for me is that we needed to rethink the very role of a Senate, because our Senate has a very shallow role because look at all the money bills. All the money bills are in the National Assembly. Everything that matters in this country is being done in the National Assembly.
Yeah.
And I am looking at it. Can I tell you, if you indulge me, one of the reasons why county assemblies are not able to do their oversight role, it is because of how we have put our PFM Act, the Public Finance Management Act. When the money is released from the exchequer, it goes directly to the county consolidated account. And then the person who is in charge of IFMI system in a county and the chief officer who is an employee of the executive are the people who are supposed to release money to go to the assembly where the clerk is the accounting officer. So what are the governors doing? Governors, when money hit their consolidated account, they do not transfer money to the county assemblies. That is why a county like Kiambu, as we are talking, MCAs have 2 months without being paid. Now, what do? You turn MCAs into an extension of the executive, because the moment you control how they use their money, you will also control how they do oversight over your government.
Yeah.
And you see, PFM Act can only be amended in the National Assembly, yet it is affecting counties and it does not need to go to the Senate. And yet Senate is supposed to look at ways on how they will be able to help the governing of counties become effective. So today, if we do not amend the PMF Act and allow the exchequer to be sending money directly to the county assemblies, our county assembly will continue to become extension of the executive, because all the executive needs to do is hold your money, make you hungry, have the people who vote, yes, have your voters come to you, they want this and that, you cannot be able to get it. You start hiding and coming home late because you don't want to meet with your voters because you cannot meet their needs. You know the next thing that will happen, if the governor calls you to give you some 20,000 shillings to pass a certain dysfunctional law, you will quickly rush and do that because you need to survive. You need to survive. You have taken a loan somewhere, a car loan, something of this. And I think for me, that's why I have an issue with the Senate, because these are matters that the Senate should be able to address, that we have given our county assemblies roles that have become difficult to actually achieve because governors have cleverly come up with a way of twisting the assembly into supporting the things. I'm looking at things that are happening in our counties, and then I remember that we have a function or Senate that cannot address these issues. There are things that Lucia will make you mad. You have, if you indulge me, I'll give you an example. Most county government workers have, in so many counties, have what you call a comprehensive NHIF cover, which they are charged every month. And like in Kiambu, we would limit about 43 to 44 million shillings a year to NHIF for the comprehensive coverage. It means that employee can go to be checked at Pisha or any other big hospital. You can take your kids to get through and get treated as an employee. Then, because Senate does not yet know what it is responsibility, you would find a governor in Kiambu who was a senator for 10 years introducing a private insurance company from a foreign nation, and it has taken the policy, taken away the insurance from NHIF into that company. Can you imagine? We have moved the insurance premium of Kiambu County from 43 million shillings per year, which we were paying in NHIF. We will now be paying a private company 320 million shillings a year. And you have a Senate which has a senator from Kiambu, fully functioning, who cannot speak about this. You can imagine that our county, Kiambu, in this year, from the day the governor has been elected, we have only uptaken 7% of the development budget. So over 3.1 billion is going to go back to the exchequer without being used. But you have you have a Senate that cannot talk about money bills, because money bills are the principles of National Assembly. So this is what I think, that if we want the Senate to actually and truly and meaningfully address the issues that are affecting county governments, we must allow the Senate to actually interrogate much more. Don't just say that all the money bills are the precincts of National Assembly and they are affecting money. That the only thing that goes to the Senate is the division of revenue bill that we just talking. So
you know, we now have Senator Omtata in the Senate, so lipo tumaini.
He's still going to court. The Senate will not address anything because if it is about money issues, the Senate is not addressing them.
He can be a starting point, though.
No. I think when they are talking about bipartisan, even those who are there, we need to actually define the actual laws of the Senate that would actually positively affect our people, because it is not healthy for a member of county assembly to be going 2 months without salary. It is unhealthy for you as the person who elected your representative, because let me tell you, they say, and this is an old saying, that a hungry man
is an angry man.
An angry man, and an angry man can do a lot of shit that he will regret later.
Gentlemen,
so let's get a Senate that has teeth to bite.
It's 36 minutes past 9 a.m. and Bunge la Mwananchi is open. If you have, kama uko na maoni na unataka kutusikia maoni yako, you can call us on 0727 919 322. Alan Kogo anasema, good morning the tackle. Time for the broke to go and rescue the rich. Kesho tunaenda kupanda miti Northlands kwa Unye. Jeremiah amesema. Jeremiah. My friend, the truth is Raila lost the election. Ole Kanchori just got a perfect platform to sell his book. Why Baba is acting active in opposition now than last regime. Just as Rotumoi, election is over. Next on 2027, let's move on Kenyans. Leo niko on moto, niko on fire, just as it's been a really good show. Alex, watching from Meru, thank you for watching. Nick Carl, tumeona comment yako, thank you for tuning in. Pato Chiwa. David Oyola, economy rose from 2002 to 2006. From 2007, Raila brought down our economy. Ninyi watu, kwani Raila akona nguvu ya kiasi gani tu ni yeye ndo anaangushanga economy kila siku? Do you want to tell me that the rest of us are just helpless and we watch Raila bringing down our economy all the damn time? I don't get it. Abbas Njuguna, Azimio chief agent who was Baba's eye, conceded they were beaten hands down and outlined reasons mainly caused by themselves. Rao would have simply taken lessons and prepare well for 2027. I agree with you, Abbas. Oyola might kill me with looks here, but I agree with you. Abbas is also asking, who is the one pushing for the lootings of businesses? Is it Ruto or Raila? I don't think either of them is pushing for the looting of businesses. Iyo tu ni kiburi ya watu wa maandamano. Before...
There's that guy, the other guy who was said that Raila lost to...
Hands down.
Hands down. I will not say he lost or he didn't lose. With that one, I will not say, though the courts already pronounced themselves on that matter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know where... Anyway, I understand that particular voter, but it was not practical that Baba lost the election.
Before we close the show for today, I want us to touch on something that is really close to my heart, and I think imekuwa in conversations a lot in the past 2 weeks. The education system, the cracks in the education system, especially when it comes to the duty of care. 3 students from Mukumu Girls have died and 1 teacher, and it is food and water contamination. Butere Boys was closed indefinitely for the same reason. Now Mukuni Boys has been closed for the same reason. I don't know, there are a couple of other schools that have also been closed down for the same reason. Where are our schools procuring their food from? Do we still have education inspectors who go to schools to check on whether the standards that have been set are being met? In 2018, the then cabinet secretaries for education, who was, I think, Amina Mohammed, and for health, I'm sorry, I can't remember her. Yeah. She's so forgettable. Yeah. Anyway, they came up with a school health policy. Is it being implemented, or was it just a guideline for the schools to use? Are they using it as a guideline? And when it comes to the duty of care, and a student is in school and they make the administration known that they're not feeling unwell, and immediate medical attention is not provided, and that child ends up dying, is that a criminal offense? And we've also seen the extreme beating of the 2 boys who've now lost a testicle each. You know, we've literally just turned an entire person sterile at a very young age.
Where is that?
In Kisii. You haven't heard of that?
Oh, it's the one Nani was talking about.
Yeah, and you know, I went to Bunyore Girls High School. And I will tell you, I can relate to those beatings. Because Oyola, the way we were beaten. Mimi nilimaliza shule nikikani kama nimetoka kuwekwa kwa grill. I had lines on my ass, like just za viboko, thighs and it was crazy. Unapigwa hadi unashindwa kama huyo mtu ako tu na kisirani na wewe, or they are really trying to correct you. You know, there's a way you can whoop a child to correct a mistake that they've done. The whoopings we were getting in that school were not to correct mistakes. Oh my God, ni kama walimu walikuwa na beef na sisi. And it's still going on. And now this child will not be able, there's a possibility that child will never be able to sire kids. So we've stopped a whole generational line with that child. For what reason?
But has it been confirmed that it's the beatings that
yes, by the doctor? I think those teachers have also been arrested. It's an ongoing.
Because I'm wondering how he was
process.
Being beaten.
I honestly don't know.
For you to get to the balls, it's not easy for a kid. But one thing,
the doctor confirmed that.
But one thing that shocks me, that despite all those happenings, the good minister or cabinet secretary for education is quiet.
Oh yeah.
He has not even gone to those schools. At least Magoha was trying. That if there's a cry in that school, utapata ameenda asubuhi na Matiangi.
Yeah.
Magoha na Matiangi would wake up in the morning. They'll be the first people in that school in the morning. Or send county commissioner to go and see what exactly is going on there. But you would expect in a big population, a sample size of those kind of things are supposed to happen. Not supposed, but they are likely to take place. Mm-hmm. Here and there, unasikia sijui nini mtoto amekunywa. You know, it is normal.
Yeah.
About food poisoning, I don't know the magnitude of the effect of food poisoning in those schools.
We had over 1,000 students being admitted to hospital.
But again, we have a very delicate generation of children who have been brought up very weak. They have very low immunity in terms of what they are eating. Some of them have grown next to their mothers who has pampered them so well. So they are delicate. And you take them to a public school which requires tough people. You know, public schools require very tough. I remember when we got to first Form 1, they were you know, I learned in a rural school. Sasa kulikuanga na, you know, group ya Nairobi. Then kulikuwa na group ya Kisumu. You would only know them during the time of closing.
Watu wa soft life.
Kabisa. Watu wa Kanairo.
There were students that I served as prefect almost throughout my schooling life.
Mm-hmm. And you know, most prefects were snitches.
I don't know those snitches.
We can equate them to home guards.
You know, you only know the Nairobi and Kisumu, you know, the students, your colleagues during the time of closing. Walikuanga soft, you know, wamebeba blue band, you know, they used to eat so well. Even during break time, wao ndo wanaendanga kwa canteen earlier, wanakula mandazi, wamebeba mkate. Lakini sisi kutoka rural, you would only take that strong tea and go back to class or uji in the morning. But with the time, as time goes by, wakifika Form 3, from Form 2, kuendelea, now they have toughened up. They are now very tough. And I think the government did well by removing this parent visiting thing. That visiting.
Oyola, which generation are you?
That visiting thing. No, I did my Form 4 in 2008. It is not too far. Just the other day here. Yeah.
Na unaongea ni kama ulimaliza shule 1972.
No, the reason why I did not want... I served as a captain in school.
Which school were you in?
In a serious national school.
Anyway. Called Maseno Boys?
No. Maseno was way below us.
You know,
we are very sorry. We are very sorry. Yes.
Alafu tunakutana na wavulana wa Maseno Boys and they straddle their legs while standing na wameshika vifungu na kuzungushia hivi kifungu kwa mkono wakikuongelesha. Ati Maseno was below you. Wait, now I am interested.
We are sorry.
And so I will tell you from the administration, because prefects, especially when you get to the level at the top of student and administration, unaelewa hata school administration ina go through what. Some of the challenges that as prefects we had to deal with, in fact you'll find that because we were so many, unapata prefect has got a very few hours to sleep. Because kuna problem hata katikati ya usiku, inafaa ende amke asubuhi angalie what classes mopped, was manual work was done, are they being served well, so you have to go earlier to the dining room, coordinate with the employees, see how things are well, utembe compound, places chafu, you designate, you punish. So from the angle of a student, a prefect in a high school, there's a lot of challenges there that sometimes prefects in the wanna solve that teachers don't even get to get into touch with those things. In fact, by the time inafikia mwalimu imeshinda prefect. Yes, sasa wanafuata tu wanasema Lucia ametuchosha. So ukiendanga huko ni suspension straight. So Lucia, there's a generation of young children that have been brought up in the recent past who have gone through Cerelac lifestyle. And they have so withdrawn from the real hard life of and that's why I would advocate for any child, any parent, mtoto akifika grade 6 mpeleke public primary school, aende public secondary school, tena boarding, huko ndio wanatafen watu.
But what is the quality of education? What is the quality of education in public schools?
The quality of education in public school, everybody leading in the country right now, they are all from public education system.
Including Millicent Omanga?
Millicent Omanga went through public secondary school.
And now we understand why we have the problems we have.
No, the problem we have is the president. The problem we have is the president.
No, the president is not just...
the presidential candidate for Governor Muchendu. William Ruto is a very good person.
You know,
let me just define this so that you get my picture. You know, William Ruto is a very good president. He's a very good leader who understands the majority. And he knows that majority, because in politics, almost 80% must be, let me call it wajinga in quotes, a bit ignorant people. They don't know how, they don't know inflation rate, they don't know what is going on, they have no intelligence, so they are not well educated.
Systemic.
So it's
all
all
over accident.
It's world over. If you look at the way even US voters, they vote, you sympathize.
American stock kwanza.
For you, Lucia, for you to win an election, lazima udanganye. I'm telling you, if you speak the truth, you will go home. You will not be elected. And therefore it means, ili udanganye, lazima udanganye wale wajinga wa
sio kudanganya, it is to spice things up.
To spice, but they are all lies, you know. Guys, this thing called manifesto. Manifesto is just a propaganda book that has been put to lie to people that there is something anybody can do.
Stalin is hearing you.
And you realize you had a minister of propaganda, which is just lies. Kwa hivyo, President Ruto is a good president, but he's got this likeness for incompetent people. Himself is not incompetent, but he will shock you with who he will nominate or give an office. Now, look at the person he gave a commissioner, Inspector General of Police, Koome. Look at the way Koome, Inspector Koome, is very emotional. And I told Muchendu here, please, anytime you can meet Koome, remove that gun from Koome, because next time he will shoot himself. It's too emotional for administration, especially governing a country. If Azimio want maandamano, which part of law gives you a leeway to declare maandamano as illegal or not allowed or banned? There is no law quotation in that part. Watu wakitaka kuandamana, just tell them fine. Mnataka kuandamana, let them run in town, tembea pole pole. But the moment you criminalize it or ban it, then your police wanaanza kuvurugana na watu. Hapo ndio chaos inaanza kutoka. Then people go wild. And you look at the ministry yote yenye President Ruto amepaweka hapa. Apart from my good friend Chelugui, who is competent to administer his administrative roles in that ministry, apart from Walo, apart from some good people in that ministry. But if you look at the majority of the tail of the ministry, you take, for example, my sister, my mother, Aisha Jumwa, that now there's a serious UN convention at the UN headquarters in New York, where ministers who are in charge of public service or gender things are now defending policy, government policy. They're debating serious debates. Everybody is given a microphone. Defend this thing, policy statement. And people are talking. Now, Muchendu, when Aisha Jumwa takes a microphone, for example, utaweka kichwa wapi? Because there's a big challenge we have. Na hiyo ndio challenge Uhuru alikuwa nayo. He had ministers who could not communicate government policies with the public in the language they understand. Na sasa ndio breakdown bado tuko nayo sasa. So me have a problem na Minister of Education, that DEO, the Minister for Education is a former DEO, is so withdrawn maybe because of his age, is now out of reality, and he was used to hard Moi DEO thing. The one Gachagua has, that you can't advise him. Unaona Gachagua, you can't advise him. Bada kona ile hiyo dio hangover.
Haya.
You know?
Is he done?
Unajua hata ameenda kuingililia CSS na president.
You see the reason why the reason why those things will continue occurring is because we don't put the people in charge into account. If we're talking about issue ya mashule hapa, we will not stop anywhere apart from Minister of Education's doors.
No, we don't stop because
You
it's
can't.
not an island. But Muchendu, you have a daughter. Is Mukumu Girls a school you were contemplating taking your child to?
No, you want to go.
I think
Principals there, they can lose their jobs, so be careful.
yes, I think it's not really about the school. It is about the strictness under which we administer issues. I have always had an issue, and I think we have had this discussion here at the show. We talk about how school procure their food and what have you. I'll tell you, if today you learn a butchery, every meat that you get, it has to go through the health officer at the slaughterhouse before you can actually sell it. And that's now the work of like now the county government to ensure that every meat that is in a butcher within in a town is meat that has gone through the checking and testing. Then I have a problem when as the head teacher of a school, I do procurement from Lucia, who does not need to go through the standardization of food that is eaten in school. I think it is high time we actually address the issue of how school procure their food.
Yeah.
How do they maintain them? How do they actually maintain the health of... Because I'll tell you one of the major issues I had. I went to a day school, and every Thursday was a very good day because ilikuwa siku ya mchele na nyama in school, lunch. I was not the D-hall captain, but obviously I used to be one of those people who would cause commotions to ensure that you get enough nyama for that day. And one thing I pride myself in my school, where anaitwa SC Kamau was the principal, aka Kirondo, that's what he used to nickname.
We are sorry.
And I found him as a principal. He retired the day I left high school, and I think when I was leaving high school, he was somewhere in class 4 because I left school 2001, form 4. But there's one thing I wanted to say. The workers, the non-teaching staff of the school were being paid well, and they were being given a leeway where they could take loans and educate their kids. If you have boys you wanted to bring to the school, you'd bring them. You know what that translates? It translated that they kept our kitchens very clean. They kept our D-hall very clean. They preserved our food well. So we have not had the entire 4 years, even my younger brother passed through the school. There has never been a case of food poisoning in that school. And I think for me, it is not really, I will not say that it is the wish of any teacher that you buy food and the kids become poisoned. Yeah. It is not a wish of any teacher, and I don't want to lay a blame. But I must say that the Minister of Education must come up with a policy on how food, specifically food, you can... Other things, detergents and what have you, I don't have an issue with them. But how do we procure food? How do we handle the food when it comes to the school? Are we keeping them in the most safe environment? Because we are buying, unakuta principal mzima ananunua chakula mahindi ya mwaka mzima. So, why wouldn't we not have an aflatoxin in the maize if it is not kept well and you have bought maize for an entire year? Yeah. Because there was a bumpy harvest and maize was going cheap. Yeah. But they will still charge parents the higher amount the second term despite them having the maize in there. So I think for me, it's the ministry has to provide guidelines on how we do procurement of food, because food poisoning is a very dangerous thing. Yeah. We have cholera outbreaks, like in Kiambu, we now have cholera outbreaks. Other counties, we have, what is this that is the outbreak in Mombasa? I saw the governor addressing it the other day. There's a certain outbreak in Mombasa County the day before yesterday. So the teacher, can you really blame the teacher if there isn't any guideline that guides them? Because I would say this, the reason why those of us who are contractors and we construct CDF projects, the reason why we are pre-qualified, it is because we are able to provide information about our company, what is our financial capacity, what we give references of the work we have done, and we are able now to be looked and say, Lucia's company can do a better job because it has this and that. But you see, shule, procurement inapelekwa makanisa inasomwa, Lucia ana procure, wins the procurement, akiwa Nairobi, anapigia my brother here. My brother refers to him in someone in Eldoret, anauza mahidi, unaniuzia pesa ngapi, weka hiyo mahidi. Huyo anakuuzia mahidi, unamwambia nitafutie transportation, mahidi inachukuliwa inapelekwa hiyo shule iko hapo, inareceiviwa, unalipwa cheki yako, it is mailed to you from the school to Nairobi, you get paid. But if today we ask Lucia whether she knows the person who supplied her with maize or supplied on her behalf, we don't know, because there are no guidelines that are put. And I must say that we must be able to do this, because without guidelines, you cannot really say the principal was wrong or right, because there is no guidelines. He just asks someone who is competent enough to supply. But the question is, when that maize is brought to that school, or that sukuma wiki imeletwa kwa shule, has it gone through the health officer of the area to ascertain that is good? Because let me tell you, we farm watermelons and tomatoes. We use a lot of chemicals to actually grow those things. But do we have those watermelons thoroughly cleaned before they are transported from the shamba to whoever is going to eat them? The same case with sukuma wiki. Are they free of those insecticides that are being sprayed? Because these are the actual things.
Ushaiona venye sukuma wiki ya shule ukatwa.
I am trying to remember that. And there is something you have said and it is very important. You have taken your kid into a private public primary school that is of high standard in Nairobi. And then your kid has been invited to Bishop Gandu, or has been invited to Kisumu High School, or has been invited to Ajia High School, for instance. Uko ndani. Ameenda uko. Trust you me, if you are invited in Bishop Gandu, or in St. Anne Rioki, or you are invited in Kisumu, there are traditional ways of preparing meals. Because let me tell you, the likelihood is that Kisumu High School has hired rockers to work there.
Yes.
The likelihood is that those in Bishop Gandu or in Alliance Boys are rockers. They will come. Kama ni mtu wa mashakura tu, shule itakuwa ikura mashakura. And these are the true things. Sasa, mtoto ametoka Lavington, umempeleka Wajir. Do you see the change? So what I'm saying is, it is also look at the rationale at which we are inviting kids all over a kid like my cousin the other day was invited into a school in Mararel, a national school in Mararel. The question is, I don't have a problem with her going because this is national school, but as an institution, have we standardized how we prepare food because of the climate change and how the environment has changed? Do we have a standardized level? Because majorly when you look at those people who are most affected, even in that case, because I looked at it, most of them are not natives.
You see, I would agree with that narrative if we had 50 cases. Yes. But in a school that has a population of 900, we have 300 cases, over 300 cases. We have 1,200 cases. That's a very big population. Hatuwezi sema watu 1,200 ni watu wa soft life peke yake. It's mass. And my blame with the... Yes. And my blame with the principal of Mukumu girls... Why I am putting the blame on her is because when this was first reported by media, she came out guns blazing and said media was lying. No one was sick, no one was dying, no one was admitted. How many dead people from Mukumu girls do we have now? You know, and that's what I'm talking about, the duty of care. If the news comes out as a principal, you don't try to sweep it under the rug. You reach out to as many people as they can help you to mitigate it. And I will tell you, it is not Mukumu girls alone. Ask anyone who went to a school in Western Province. I am a good study case. I will tell you. What I'm saying. There's a level of negligence by principals because they feel they are untouchable. Principals in schools in Western Province are so powerful. They feel they are untouchable, and there's a level of negligence that they practice. And I don't know if you've seen this trend on Twitter, or no, not Twitter, TikTok, of former students calling out their former high schools and the ills they went through those high schools. Let me tell you what, I now suffer from high functioning anxiety. I was not born with it. There's no one in my family with a history of mental illness. I am the first one. Do you know where I got it? Bunyore Girls High School. So do you think I am the only one? We are a traumatized generation because of the negligence and lack of care and the breaking down that happened to us in high school.
See, I'll tell you, and this is what I have an issue with, because the trends you're talking about, I was in high school at a season where they were on a very high alert. Because right now there's nothing much happening. Those days there used to be a lot of things, you know, the caning and what was there and everything. This is what I'm saying, and again I agree with him. The buck will stop at the Minister of Education. One, we do not have, do you know, today in the country we do not have a guideline on how we employ our non-teaching staffs. Yeah. Do we have a policy guidelines in terms of their qualifications? Do we have a policy guidelines in terms of how much we can pay them, the least we can pay them? Because I'll tell you, this is where it starts. The moment you lousily pay the non-teaching staff, that is where the problem starts as principals. And I agree with you, the principal must squarely take the blame as the leader of the institution. But I must also say that we must not now address the issue of that school as a single issue. Yeah. We must holistically address the issues. Where did the rain start beating the education system? One, it is when he can take all his 5 or 7 cousins and employ them in a school. It is true. Look at our schools. Utakuta, the gate man is related to the matron. The gardener is related to the gate man. The gate man is related to someone who is supposed to clean the dormitories. You will find that one entire wing of a family belonging to the principal. And have you ever realized every time a school gets a new principal, there are people who are fired, non-teaching staff, almost all of them are the people who are getting the back of all those issues. It is because we do not have the regulations. As I said, we have no regulation on how the school should do its procurement. we don't have regulations on how we should treat our non-teaching staff, because you will find that kind of poisoning, to be able to poison 300 people, you would have to have a very serious mishandling of food.
Yeah.
It is a very serious issue of mishandling of foods. And likelihood, when you look at the people who has been mishandling those foods and you dare ask for their pay slips, you'll be shocked at the peanuts these people are receiving. So this is what I will say, that as a principal, the back of anything happening in an institution stops at your office as a principal, and I think the principal must take the full responsibilities of any death cases that have happened in the school. As the fact that she came out to the media to deny actually puts her at the center of that entire saga. But the ministry must come out. And anyway, I am disappointed that the minister has not come out to actually talk about. Have you seen in India the other day a train had an accident?
Yeah.
The first act of government is the minister to resign.
Yeah, because why?
It's something called, and it does not happen in Kenya and a lot of Africa, is corrective responsibility. Because if a train has killed 100 people and you are the minister for transport, it is your corrective responsibility as the minister. Now, we are in a case where the principal comes out to the media to deny. We have people who are dead. We have parents who are now agonizing. They sent their kids to school to go and learn. And let me tell you, there's a saying, I can't remember who said it, that if this country has to change, those who are not affected must get to a level where they get agitated in the same level as those who are affected. You may not speak about it because your daughter is 2 years and he is far away from going to high school. But that time when he is going to high school is coming. So I will condemn that issue today, and I will say I'm disappointed the Ministry of Education has not tackled that issue, because tomorrow my daughter will be in a school somewhere. And if that issue is not addressed now, she may be a victim tomorrow. I don't want to be a statistic because I can only imagine the pain those parents who have lost their kids are going through. Yeah. So it is upon the minister. And I have said this, and I will say this, for those of us who are KK guys, we support government, we must streamline our communication. Because when there is breakdown of communication, there is what you call confusion.
Yes.
And when there is confusion, it is the government that ends up receiving the beating. So I would have expected, even if it is not the minister, whoever is in charge of the communication at the State Department of Education should have done a comprehensive statement. Yes. I mean, I applaud the Minister for Internal Security. He's one of the few people who continues to update, regardless of whether you may like his policies or not.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter that he has gone, I think now the director of communication here is Gashuri, the former Citizen guys. They have constant communication of what is happening. And I think that is where the lane started beating most of the State Department. They do not communicate well and are enough to be able to give directions. Very few ministries, the Ministry of Internal Security, Oyola is trying. My former party leader, Moses Kuria, has made the Ministry of Industrialization very visible. Cherugui again.
Apart from Maguta.
Other than those reckless tweets.
No. Let me tell you. You will not have Moses Kuria in any other way. Yeah. He is always on his element. And let me tell you, if Moses... No. You
guys,
him.
We shall continue this conversation later. It's 8 minutes past 10 a.m. and our listeners are tired.
Ministry of Education, they have got quality assurance guys.
Yeah.
Those are the people they need to be asked.
They need to blame, because they should be asked.
Yes, up to sub-county level.
Someone is not doing their job. Anyway, Oyola, give us your tackle of the day as we close the show.
Could have started with Muchendu.
Muchendu ameongea for the past 3 minutes. Wacha tusikie sauti.
My tackle for the day is on the state of the economy. And my first urge is on the government to see whether it will be possible to pay up the pending bills, because those pending bills are the ones that are holding the money from the pockets of contractors, who in turn the multiplier effect of paying a contractor is just too beneficial to the economy, because the money comes to the local. Number 2, let the government not sack or retrench workers in the excuse of pay bill. Wage bill.
Wage bill.
It is those salaries that you pay a local employee, civil servant, that support the local economies at the base level, because they buy sukuma wiki from us, they buy skoringuru, they buy mukombero,
Motura.
Mutura. So those are money that comes to the people direct on the small businesses that ziko chini. The only thing the government need to do is that when they're giving contracts, let them empower local contractors. Let them do what the Singapore and the Asian Tigers did. They empowered the local contractors. Muchendu started a company, is attached to a contractor from US or from China. As he continue to get attachment and
on
also
a graduating basis.
Graduate pole. Then with the time serikali inampatia loan and expand capacity ya company yake sasa inakuwa kubwa. Then that is how Asian Tigers turned their small companies into multinationals. That now we have, like Samsung is now being made in South Korea. We have parts of it made in Vietnam. Yeah. Those were very poor countries. Number 3, on the part of the state of our health and the security of our children in schools, particularly boarding schools, we would like the ministry to empower or to urge the people in charge of quality assurance, so that they are able to monitor the progress and liaise with the administrators to see whether our children are safe in those particular schools. The last part is on government communication. There's a terrible breakdown in government communication. We are completely getting nothing from government. There are some ministries that are not communicating at all. In fact, if you ask, for example, what the Minister of Mining did in the last, for example, 7 or even 5 months, you cannot list a thing. We'd like the people in charge. If it is the Minister for Information and Communication, I think I'll meet him next week. He called me this morning, CS Owalo, to schedule a meeting with him on next week. One of the things that I think I will tell him to help our government. I cannot say that this is Muchendu's government, because we all pay taxes here. And if the government fails, I also fail.
We are also failing.
We are also failing. So in our small ways, we have to see that this government succeeds, so that at least if they go well, we also do well. And therefore, communication in government is a big problem. There's so many ministries and SAGAs, these semi-autonomous government agencies, that are not communicating at all. If you ask them the progress of what they're doing, you completely get nothing. And there's Muchendu and other people in government need to urge their leaders to continue communicating with us. The final one is on the counties. I would like to urge the MCAs, wherever they are, that as they go to assembly, the money that comes to the counties, it's a money that is meant to the people, for the people of that particular county. Please give contracts or spend the money in your local area. Do not do not be Umma Bay, that you are a governor in Umma Bay and you want to construct something that is worth, for example, 30 million. Then you get a contractor from Wajir, you get a contractor from Turkana. Of course, I know the law allows everybody else to do business wherever they want, but the Devolution wanted that money circulates down at that local level so that it remains in the pockets of the voters of that area. The same goes to CDF. Zile mabarabara wanafanya, please MPs who can be able to listen to us, patia contracts wale vijana wenye wako pale na wamama na wale wazee wako na companies. You can call students in your area. In a rural area, it's an average of around 30 university students in a particular ward. Those are students that you put them in groups of 10 and they start a company, and that company wins a tender. Hata barabara ya 5 kilometers. Wakipata hata milioni 2 wafanye hiyo, we get some saving waende walipe fee. It's much better than this bursary of 5,000 you're you're giving them, so that you cut out the bursary for higher education ya yenye patiwana na CDF, uchukue bursary iende kwa high school, because then they cannot work. But for colleges and TVET and universities, we only ask the leaders and MPs and the governors, put these students in groups of companies, train them, give them capacity, give them contracts, wafanye wapate savings, share the profit or the savings they have gotten, and take the wachukue pesa walipe kwa school fee, enye mebaki waanze nao biashara. That is when you empower the local people, that they are now able to do business, they are able to go to school without being chased away, they have the capacity to do government contracts. I think that is my parting shot that I would be able to give for today.
Sijui kama serikali imeona hiyo akili yako yote. I hope wameona. When you talk to Mr. Eliud Owalo, please, I hope he will see those brains and he will make good use of them. Wasi struggle sana na uko hapa.
Government is rigid, we will tell you.
Governor.
Well, I must first of all tell him I don't work for government. I support the government.
You support the government.
I support the government, and I am not ashamed to have campaigned for KK and to continue to be associated with William Ruto's government. Mm-hmm. And we really hope, because the reason why we went to the ballot was so that they can deliver to the people of Kenya. And that's our firm belief that sooner than later they will deliver to the people of Kenya. My tackle again will be on counties. I feel that if we do not address what is happening in our counties, we will lose a lot, because devolution was meant to actually take development to the people. The reason why we have county governors, I said that it was not because they should become small gods or they should become what Americans would refer to as control freaks. Mm-hmm. We have seen a trend in so many of our counties where governors have decided that they are going to balkanize counties and counties are not going to function. We are... Is it 8 months since we did our elections? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are counties like my county in Kiambu where there is no single development in a ward, and we are 8 months. You go to some counties in North Rift, you go to some counties in Nyanza where there is no work that is being done. And it is a high time I call upon the national government. In the current dispensations, we do not have a specific ministry dealing with devolution, although devolution is now domiciled in another ministry. But I think it is high time we reorganize how we do devolution, because devolution is now working against Wajiko rather than helping them out. It is like we created counties to benefit those who become governors, and to benefit those who become members of county assembly and those who are close to them. And I think that I do not want to see any other county go through what Kiambu is currently going through. And this calls to a national dialogue, whether you are elected as a member of parliament or a women rep or a senator. We have to have a national dialogue on how we adjudicate the matters of the county, because the way counties are being run, it is disheartening. If I give you an example of a study in Kiambu, why would a governor come and take out a functioning NHIF insurance cover that is 43 million in favor of a private company that is charging us 320 million shillings a year? I'm glad the Pharmaceutical Society of Kiambu people have gone to court, and there is a court order stopping it. It is the very reason why the county assembly apparently has censured the Minister for Finance. Mm-hmm. We are talking about today. Can you imagine? The national government goes ahead, because this was planned by the previous government. Every constituency in Kiambu, 12 constituencies, each has been allocated a sum of about 32 million shillings for street lighting. But when the national government does street lighting, it is the responsibility of the county government to maintain and pay utility bills. You have a national government giving, if you do that 1 million shilling, that 2 million shillings by 12, we are talking in the range of 400 million plus that has been allocated to write up our villages. But the county government goes ahead and writes back to the MPs and tells them we are not ready to take any more utility bills. And they have refused to actually do that project that is given by the national government. And I am also asking the Kiambu, if the Kiambu governor can write that they do not want to take more utility bills, we as the people of Kiambu, we must also write to the county and tell them we are not ready to pay more revenue and we are not ready to pay more money. And this is the problem that is affecting so many counties, because the county government continues to correct revenue each and every day, parking revenue, market revenue, impounding cost, and all those things, so that the local laced revenue is supposed to meet the utility bills and the what we call the recurrence expenditures of that county government. So I must call on the country to actually have what we call, we normally have an annual devolution, what we call the annual devolution workshops that brings all the counties together and the national government. It is time we have a national dialogue on how things are being administered in the county governments, because we have governors who have the idea that they have been made to be small gods. They can why would a governor come into a sub-county to launch an old fire engine as if he did not have something else to do? This is a problem that is affecting our 47 counties, and the national government must come to the rescue of the people, because if we do not address the issues that are affecting devolution today, we will have counties that are balkanized and are not moving on. We are at the third tier of the devolution, and you see, Kiambu, we are in the fourth governor. Nyeri is in the fourth governor.
I suggest we invite Governor Wamatangi to come here, and we also invite you.
Me and it's good to say that me and Governor Wamatangi cannot survive in the same house, because mediocrity is not my passion. Pathological lying is not something I would abhor.
Let's just say today, Governor Wamatangi has taken the crown of shame for all the governors who are not doing their job.
On behalf of devolution and those who love devolution and those who actually fought for devolution, I want to look in this camera and tell Governor Wamatangi, and this is a personal opinion, it is not the opinion of the TACO or the people therein. It is a personal opinion by Muchendu, who is a voter at Gatora Primary School, Deya Ward, Limuru Sub-County, Kiambu County. Shame on you, Governor Wamatangi, for draining Kiambu. Shame on you for doing deals that are going to mess Kiambu. Shame on you for being the alpha and omega on everything. Procurement cannot work. Your chief officers cannot work. Your directors cannot work. You want to approve procurement. You want to approve sales. You can't allow your kitchen people to do the purchasing. Shame on you, Governor Wamatangi. This is not what we did not expect this Kiambu. In fact, it is very sad and very inhumane to actually admit that I would rank Governor Waitito ahead of you. Shame on you.
Jesus. Mimi ndio nakuanga na hiyo moto, lakini ni kama leo niko na baridi fulani.
You are the whole seat, you have to be because let me tell you, some of us are very mad about it, because why would you as a governor come to give seedlings a month later since the terrain people have already planted?
Muchendu, healing is a process. Healing is a process. I want to read a tweet by someone I follow religiously on Twitter. And he says, anajitanga muhindi mzee sijua mani mwende nani. He called me he Takar. So he says the Kibaki government was good for land buyers. The Uhuru government was good for construction. The Ruto government will be good for agriculture. And on that note, Unga Limited are good for agriculture because they give you feeds for your livestock. So if you're a livestock farmer, Whichever livestock you're keeping, Unga Feeds have you covered with Fugo Feeds. They have an option for layers, for growers, for chicks, for poultry in general, for dairy, for pigs, for fish, for horse. If you can check out their website at ungalimited.co.ke, I think you will see all the options that they have, and all these options are available at an agrovet near you. So kama uko na mifugo, tafadhali jua Fugo Feeds is the best food for your livestock. Chakula ya Fugo Feeds ni kama whiskey, you know, the finest quality of whiskey to your livestock. So visit an agrovet near you and ask for Fugo Feeds for whatever livestock it is that you are rearing. Jua Fugo Feeds malisho bora, mapato zaidi. And for my tackle of the day, I would like our ministries to have some interministerial synergy. It doesn't sit right with me that the education sector will be suffering a health something and the Ministry of Health is totally clueless and unawares and not at the forefront of helping the Ministry of Education deal with it. None of these ministries can work alone as a standalone island. It takes other ministries in order for you all to do your job in a way that progresses and moves the country forward as our president has envisioned it. The fact that you all are not communicating amongst yourselves, you're making the government look bad. You're making our president look like a liar. He might be, but you're really pushing that narrative and it just does not inspire confidence in Kenyans. You need to be very aware that you have come into power at a time when Kenyans have absolutely zero trust in government. And with the trajectory that you guys are going at, we are not gaining that trust anytime soon. So kindly please speak to each other. Ndio Mithika Lunturi aache kutupigia hapa hekaya za bunywasi za kuenda kupanda mahindi Zambia when the Zambians are not even aware of that story. It has been nice hanging out with you guys today. By the way, this show has been great. It has been lit. I have had great guests. I hope I'll be able to do this more often and hope to see you next week. Bye.